Hmm. All right. It is about noon 15, and on Friday, and I'm trying to get a lot of things done that I don't particularly have control over today. Um, so I am guess I might need that. Anyway, I'm going to read an article while people come on. We'll try to get Ham on soon. He's playing pickleball, and then uh, if there's something I might have to take care of at 1 o'clock, 1:15, 1:30, I don't know. If so, I'll let Ham keep talking while I do that. I don't think it'll take more than 10, 20 minutes. So anyway, I just make sure this is readable. It is. Okay. So I think I do not step back from my belief that speculation will continue in the stock market. And the automatic nature of a lot of investment strategies, whether it's ETFs, mutual funds, retirement accounts, automatic debits going into accounts, there's a tendency, particularly with the top 7 stocks, there's no real thinking going on. It's just they're going up. We'll keep adding to it. They'll keep going up. And I think that's going to continue. However, I think this scare of the deep seek AI, it may or may not be the death knell of the AI story or these stocks, but it's a real warning that something has changed. There's a shift. Now, for all of us who are out here investing, or we're the people out in the street who have their 401ks on set it and forget it, it's going to take a while to absorb that. And particularly if the stock market goes up, they're going to say, oh, nothing happened. But I think if I'm right that the market goes much higher, you've just got, well, even it might happen sooner, by the way. It might happen where the bond market gives up the ghost, and it'll be Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. But I think we have more up. It's not very good English, I know. And it could be maybe very swift. So when that happens, if I'm right, I think it's important to do what this says: how to protect yourself from the tech bubble bursting. It may have happened right now, or that was the warning that'll be ignored. I am almost certain it will happen in the future. Certainly, if the market corrects, it'll be the big boys and girls that come down. So this was posted by James Rickards, January 29th, How to Protect Yourself from the Tech Bubble Bursting. I don't think I read it, but if I did, I don't remember it. In the 1920s, RCA was the hottest stock in the world. Radio was cutting tech, and RCA was dominant in the sector. The company was the largest manufacturer of radio sets and operated the largest broadcasting company, NBC. They owned key patents and had attracted many of the country's best engineers. In 1921, Radio Corporation of America was trading at a price-to-earnings ratio of 72x. 72x. Speculation had driven the price for RCA far beyond rational levels. The bubble popped in 1929, and by 1932, RCA shares were trading at 15. I don't know what happened to earnings projections, but in 1929, the stock was trading at a PE of 72. By 1932, the stock was trading at 15. In 1929, RCA was trading for $549. Back when a dollar was a dollar and Coke was still cola. And before Nixon resigned on TV. The bubble popped in 1929 and the stock was at $15. That's still a 10x return over 11 years. But the majority of investors had bought in at much higher prices. The use of margin borrowing was commonplace. Sound familiar? Of course, we saw a similar mania in the dot-com bubble. Cisco, Intel soared to unimaginable heights. You could say RCA was the Cisco of the Roaring '20s and possibly the NVIDIA of its time. Is DeepSeek the pin? China's new AI models, DeepSeek RI, has the potential to be the pin that pricks the AI bubble, but it hasn't yet. I'm starting to wonder, did I read this to you already? I don't know. It's nice to have a brain. On Monday, January 27, NVIDIA shares fell 17% after the market had digested China's AI developments. The shares rebounded. I don't know if this model will be the catalyst which ends the AI mania, but inevitably the bubble will end. The market is poised for a crash, but I think first a little chi-chi. It only requires the right catalyst, something frightening, a bank run, financial crisis, war, or something else. Whether this Chinese model is the catalyst remains to be seen, but the 17% one-day drop in NVIDIA does demonstrate that the market is easily spooked. The rise of AI in America has severely concentrated market risk. My understanding is those 7 are 40% of the S&P, those 7 stocks, or whichever ones of those stocks are included in the S&P. I think all of them are, but it's 40%. The rise of AI in America has concentrated market risk. Even before AI boom, markets were already tilted toward big tech in a big way. Today, it's far more pronounced. Anyone investing in the S&P 500 has more money in the Mag 7 stocks than they do in the bottom 400 companies put together. These 7 big tech firms make up about 34% of the entire S&P. So I was wrong. 34% of the entire S&P. This is what happens during bubbles. A handful of companies dominate the market. But make no mistake, these periods are driven by real advances in technology, but they inevitably get out of control. This has happened with every major technological development: railroads, internet, crypto, and now artificial intelligence. Anyone who has studied manias, or anyone who has dated Kim Kardashian, can clearly recognize the signs. Problem is, it's difficult to know exactly when it will end. But judging by the milk I'm getting now, there certainly must be one. If you own almost any American stock market index, you have plenty of exposure to NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, etc. Now is not a time to jump into these names. And I agree with that. I wouldn't try to get the last bit of the move, although if you're doing it for a trade and you're doing it with a little bit of money, maybe. But this is the most speculative time in the market. Personally, I think the markets are going to go up 30 to 50% from here, depending on the index. And then after that, it's Katie bar the door. After that, just imagine hiking up to the top of Mount Everest, which is sliced in half, and you walk to the very top, and then the way down is going to be swift. And I don't think you'll see whatever high is hit. I don't think you'll see it for at least a generation, probably 2 generations, maybe 3. You won't see it till Barron Trump is president. Now is not the time to jump into the Mag 7 as the tech sector remains vulnerable. I, Jim Rickards, much prefer areas the rest of the market hates: gold, silver, although those are coming to life right now. The miners, oil and gas, residential real estate, hard assets. This one intrigues me. I think you got to be careful what residential real estate you buy and what price you pay. But let's see what he says. Despite all the hype around this tech cycle, we are entering a hazardous monetary period. The United States and much of the world have entered into debt spiral territory. Once debt to GDP broaches 120%, in other words, the debt level of a nation exceeds its annual gross domestic product by 120%, as it has done in the United States, the time is almost always at a point which leads to a debt or a monetary crisis. Even in a best case scenario, such a situation leads to a prolonged period of slow growth, which is also poison. 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 Can't remember that song. She's poison. Which is also poison for stocks. AI is powerful, but it cannot save us from mathematics. No one can. No one can save you from mathematics. So if you don't have any, go buy some hard assets. The easiest place is gold, silver, coins, gold and silver coins. The easiest place to start. I suggest that everyone should have 10% of their portfolio in gold and silver coins. They remain the ultimate diversifiers. All right, so enough of my lecture. Good morning, Julie Kim's number 1. Eddie Eagle. I went to, there's this dry cleaner that went out of business a while ago, and they have a big parking lot in front. And I guess development may have slowed down in DC now. But whoever, some young enterpriser, rented the lot or bought it maybe. But they turned the dry cleaner into a coffee shop, food, pizza, beer hall. And then outside is a huge, it's a parking lot size, place where you can sit outside, drink beer. There's tables, order a pizza, have coffee, and there's 2 huge screens on the wall of the house next door. And the gimmick is the entire parking lot is covered with grass. I assume fake. I didn't look. But the gimmick is you can bring your dogs. So the dogs are there and you click them off leash and so walking back from an errand, I just went in feeling lonely, and I sat at one of the benches, and there were a bunch of dogs playing, but there were these 2 dogs, one black and white and one brown, that were just having so much fun. It was borderline aggressive, but it was also, they were just playing. And so I sat and watched for a while, probably about 5 to 10 minutes. But all of a sudden, the brown dog, which looked, it wasn't a pit bull, but I don't think it was a cane corso either. It must have been a mutt, but it was a big dog with the big head and the floppy ears and the pink tongue and the thin tail. All of a sudden, that dog turned and looked at me, saw me. I'm sitting by myself. He saw me, and he just, with a big smile, he just bounded over toward me. And he went right up to me, and he's smiling and he's sniffing and his whole body's shaking and glad to see me. I'd never seen him before. And I was happy. I was petting him. He was sitting on my feet and leaning into me and sniffing me. And I pet him. And, I don't know how long that went on. 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, long time. And then he went back to play with his dog. It was the nicest gift I could have ever gotten. And I think it was sent to me by, that's how my brain works. I think Lucky sent it to me. Sent that dog to me. Hey, Michael. Hey, Girth Mike. Oh, let's look at, good morning. Let's look how the stocks are doing. I might, like I say, at 1 o'clock, I might have to disengage, which I know will disappoint each and every one of you, no end. But I'll leave it running so you can click with each other, or if Ham calls in, he can be talking to you a cappella. Let's just look at these stocks. There was some activity this morning that was interesting. Of course, I can't find my quotes. Do you ever wonder what happened to your brain? I do. Okay. Railtown, which is my focus du jour, de week, de month, de nephew, is Denise, is 0.3071, 0.32. So last trade, 31 cents, 30,000 shares. Don't forget about RLAIF. I think there's no question it didn't break through 40 like I thought the charts were showing. And there's no question there's been a bit of a pullback. I think healthy the way it's played out. And my guess is, since they're marketing their product, at some point they'll get a contract, unless their product is worthless, which I don't think it is. So do they get contracts soon? Do they already have them? Or does it take months? I guess only time will tell. But I think Railtown is as cheap, if I'm right anyway, is as cheap as you're ever going to see it again. I guess the question is, how long will it be down here? I don't know. If I had to guess, not very much longer. I think the pullback was partly holiday based, which I was wrong on in this case. and it was partly winter. It's partly transition of the political team. So people just took long vacations, but I think everyone's back to work. All right, that's that. Finger motion is 124, up a penny. Next trip got above $7. I don't want to overly hyperventilate, hyper next tripate, but it got to 713, and the news, well, of course, mine doesn't show any news, so I have to do it by memory. But the news had indicated some things going on, and I think the finalization of those news stories is upon us. My guess, what could happen with next trip? Maybe nothing. Maybe it just sits there and news doesn't move it. That's always a possibility. But I think the news, and the model, the business model, the concept of next trip, and then the fact that they bought this other asset out of bankruptcy, I think the news will be good. So does the stock go up a little bit or a lot? I'm going to guess the stock doubles. Maybe it triples. It could go a whole lot higher than that if there's any kind of squeeze, or because there's very few shares out. But I have two cautions. One is I better be careful. I don't know if that's public. I think it's public, but I look at so many stories. I'm a little concerned who their investment banker is. Let me find out if it's public before I say it. Now, my concern is not shared by the principals at NextBridge, and they point out that this same bank ran the NNE stock, which did do very, very well. So I could be wrong. My other concern is it's clear that NextTrip is going to raise money. Yeah, I mean, that's what companies do. So if it goes from 7 to 15, or maybe to 21 or 25, just be aware you're not the only one that's looking to sell. This is my opinion. I don't have any inside information, but just remember the company's going to be wanting to sell stock too. And if the bankers, who I believe they are rather than who the company believes they are, they may already have that deal set. So my point with the next trip, if it doubles, if it triples, maybe, just maybe, take your profits. And if it runs much higher, oh well, you had to let the other guy make some money. I do think it's a long-term, a very interesting story. I like their business plan. I've spoken to the team over Zoom, and I was impressed. So that's NTRP. NIXI is down today, and it was lower. It's at 277. It got as low as 251. But when you look at the charts, and remember, I'm not very good technically. I just do it with a fat finger. It looks like it's come down into support. And does it stay there longer? Does it take a long time? Sure, it could be. But it's a much more reasonable risk reward here at $3 than it was at $7 or $6. So I think NIXI still has another run in it. I don't know when. It's kind of like ZJYL or GDC. Can those get up off the floor and run again? Very similar stories, tight ownership, short positions, business plans that may or may not be good, but the idea is with proper enthusiasm, if the stock price is up, that's going to catch out the shorts. Anyway, Nixie, I think, looks like a reasonable gamble here. I would say the one thing about Nixie that I will change, I do think they have this business plan. They've announced they want to become a $1 billion company. It almost ran, I think, in October. It was like 52 million shares traded, like a some bitch, and it went to $12 pre-market. That's what I think could happen again. You get, maybe instead of 50, maybe it's 100 million shares or more. Just a huge volume day or 2 or 3. And I think it could go higher than 12. But I also think the key to making a short squeeze type situation work is surprise. Our chief weapons are fear, surprise, and a fanatical devotion to the Pope. Amongst our weapons are fear, surprise, an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope, and the comfy chair. Anyway, so my advice, if you own it or buy it, when the volume comes again, I would just go ahead and do your best to take a profit. Let's say I'm making it up. Let's say Nixie does trade tens of millions of shares, and let's say it goes back to 12, like it did pre-market, and you say to yourself, I'm out, and you get out. And maybe it runs to 25, maybe it runs to 30. Don't be mad at yourself. Just be glad you got out while the volume was there, because wherever it goes, it'll come back down, and then it'll be hard to get back up there. So anyway, that's Nixie. And that's my blanket idea with GDC and ZJYL as well. Although I did look at ZJYL, the chart after hand comes on, maybe I can go through some charts, but it looked like a bullish wedge is forming on ZJYL. KNWN is 7 cents. Another Jeff Easton benchmark, Philip Vallier special. I don't know why CEOs, when are CEOs going to realize that these are not good doctors? Dr. Kirk Kerkorian killed another one of his patients today. When are people going to realize he's not a good doctor? All right, and then GBUX, that was the other one I wanted to call your attention to. GBUX, it was as high as $2.34 today. The volume is only 24,000 shares, but it was high as $2.34. So keep an eye out for that one. And then let's just see. Trump is putting a tariff out. That's ballsy. New inflation reading, it reinforces Fed's go slow strategy. Intel gets $500 million interest from a $1 billion EU antitrust fine, and that's interesting. Tether made $13 billion last year. Apple jumps. Goldman Sachs says go long gold. Let's see what the Daily Hate says. Biden's deep state plot to sabotage RFK's reforms as Biden sets traps to bring down Maha movement. Who would be against healthy Americans? I guess Joe the Schmo Biden. A top cardiologist ranks the worst recreational drugs for your heart. I wonder, what are people thinking? Doing cocaine is like playing Russian roulette with your heart. Hey, that sounds fun. So Kevin Costner's wife is engaged to Kevin Costner's friend, Josh Connor. Woman's. There's a Black Hawk pilot, a woman, Elizabeth McCormick. She says, if you're flying a visual flight plan and you're in crowded airspace, you should have 2 crew chiefs to look out both sides. Pilots can only look straight ahead. Then she says, the helicopter was supposed to be flying up to a limit of 200 feet, but it was 400 feet. That's what I think. But she did point out, because of the reflections on the water of light, it's easy to be disoriented. And then thirdly, the traffic controller should have been more specific. They're going to blame it on the controller. Everyone blames the priest, but no one suspects the deacon. All right, let's see if there's anything going on with the approvals. Chuck Todd is leaving. That's too bad. Oh, the odds markets. You want to know the odds markets? I guess you have no choice. Which Trump picks will be confirmed? That site where you can buy odds. They have Tulsi Gabbard at 52%, RFK 76%, Cash Me Outside Patel 95%, Lori Chavez de Remer 96%. I don't even know who she is. Brooke Rollins, I don't know who she is, 99%. Mike, the anti-Palestinian Huckabee, 99%. Elise Stefanik, 99%. Doug Collins, 99%. Chris Wright, 99%. Pam Bondi, 99%. Russell Vaught, I don't know who Russell Vaught is, 96%. Mehmet Oz, 97%. And Scott Turner, 99%. Hey, Amby. Oh, there's a good boy. Here's a good boy. Needs a hug. That boy needs a hug. All right, let me see. Well, Ham hasn't called yet, so I guess it's all right.
Battery 40%.
All right, I'm going to skip
Connected
to the bottom
to
and see if you have
Geopolitical.
questions. Then I'll come back up. Rico, I agree, pilot to the moon. It's all racketeering. But is racketeering when Congress is in on it? When the racketeers are the regulators? I don't know. I don't know. But maybe I've been told. Finger is not shortable at Moo. Well, Moo and Webull and Robinhood, those are all fractional reserve firms. All the shares they have are fake. So I don't know why they'd let you. Why would they let you short a fake share? I mean, they're giving you fake shares. Why would they let you join in on the fun? I don't know. There should have been two controllers, one for plays, one for helicopters. I agree. I agree with you. They also, one of the controllers left work early with permission, which they normally do late at night anyway, but they did it early. Tell you what, I fly into National all the time, or used to. I don't know. I think I might go back to BWI or Dulles. They've shrunk the number of controllers. They've doubled the size of the airport, it feels like. I don't know if they doubled the gates or doubled the flights, but there's more flights. And you've got Army pilots that are being trained based on a push to get women and minorities flying at all costs. And you've got pilots being hired who are not white men. Well, I'm not trying to cause a problem. I know white men are the worst thing in the world, and it's time for white women. Somehow they've been discriminated against. They've been victims more than minorities. But anyway, I don't want to get into all of that. But if you're flying if you're a commercial airliner firm and you want to hire pilots, where do you go find your pool of pilots who have flown for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years? They got training with the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force. Where do you go for? That's where you go find those pilots. They're usually, I don't know the percentages, but a lot of them are ex-military. Well, what if for the last 30 years, the preponderance of those pilots are white males, straight white males? Let's make it even worse. The worst people in the world are straight, pale-skinned males. So that's your pool of experienced, trained, make their mistake when nobody's in the back of the plane, but they're flying solo low over Rangoon when they're 21 years old, and they've been learning. They have instincts when something happens because they've been doing it thousands of hours. Well, no, let's with a stroke of a pen, because it's fair, it's more fair. Let's make sure we have women flying. Now, there are female pilots that have gotten training in the military and elsewhere. But how many of those pilots have long length of service? There are some, but they're not a big chunk of that pool of long length of service, long flying time pilots. But let's ignore that because we want to be fair. We're not going to get pilots based on their ability to fly and their length of experience. We're just going to get them because it's not fair that women aren't flying in the cockpit. It's not fair. Men have had that for so long. It's just not fair. Okay, so you put women in the cockpit. You put them in the controller. I don't know. Maybe it's the best thing to do. I would feel better. I don't need to know who's flying my plane. I would just feel better knowing that the metric of hiring a pilot is skill, not chromosomes. Yeah, GBUX, I think GBUX is showing something. And I tell you what, that's not a lot of volume in that stock. So if Ham's right, I don't know if he is, and there's a short position in that stock, I think even 100,000 shares will get that stock moving. The volume's so low. Good morning, BT. Hey, Mark. Oh, here's the best dog. Yeah, Nixie's hammered, but I mean, one person's hammering is another person's opportunity. So that's one way to look at it. It's getting hammered. Another way to look at it is we had a nice trade. Some of us got out. I mean, I don't have enough. My IRA is very small, but yeah, you take a profit, and maybe it's time to come back into it. So it's an opportunity. But that's true. It is hammered. Yeah, I wish I had taken a picture of the guy. I wish I had taken a picture of that guy. It was like I was his, it was totally like I was his master and he was my dog, and he looked right at me, which dogs don't always do. And big smile, big sniffs and wags and butt wiggling. And it was just like he hadn't seen me in 10 years or 10 minutes, and I was his master. It was great. Yeah, I think lucky. That's what I felt like, Candy and Gronk. I felt like it was a gift from Lucky. That's what I felt like. It's exactly what I felt like. I felt like it was a hello and a thank you and a miss you. That's what I thought. Of course, I'm a cornball. Let's see. LNG will get hit over here. Well, I wonder, Kevin, we love to pick on the Middle East as an area that there's been wars for hundreds, thousands of years. But I would say the great steps of Asia and the I don't know what to call it, the Rus Basin, the Muscovy Empire, and then the Germany was a bunch of fiefdoms, and what did they call them in Roman times? But that's a whole part of the world that's been at war with each other for 2,000, 3,000 years as well. And Russia, in its history, has been under attack from Poland, from Germany, from Sweden. Lithuania was powerful. The Austro-Hungarian Empire. You know, the Great Yellow Horde is one of the boogeymen of most populations anywhere in Asia. So my common sense feeling is that Germany will get off of the US tit and stand again as its own country, and will enter into agreements with Russia. Germany's industrial powerhouse, which is now not so powerful, and its infrastructure are right à côté the Russian railroad system, for example, and it wouldn't take much. They'd have to expand. I think it's expand their rails to match the Soviet rail, but they can do that at a changing station. And I wonder how long, Kevin, it will take Germany to realize that they need to buy their energy from Russia, that they need to start trading with Russia. They need to start selling automobiles that are competitive with China's automobiles. There was an article I wanted to read to all of you guys. That was a couple of days ago. Volkswagen has agreed to essentially sell to China. Well, sell some of their plants. I think Germany's future is with the burgeoning middle classes of Asia and Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Russia, not with the ossified, aging populations of Europe. We have a pretty young population because of immigration, but we've already bought all the cars we need if we go into a recession. Anyway, I think the most logical thing is for Germany to leave NATO and start doing business with Russia. But maybe there's just so many generations of distrust and anger that it won't happen. But anyway, somebody blew up the Nord 2 pipeline, and there's other interferences going on. Remember, Israel wants Gaza, got the Palestinian natural gas that's offshore Gaza. Oh, you can't say that, that's anti-Semitic. No, that's what they're doing. They want the oil and gas off the shore of Gaza, and they're going to have it. There's a debate whether NATO, the United States, Ukraine are trying to get the natural gas off the coast, I guess, of Ukraine. Maybe it's off the Crimean coast. But that might be what's going on in the Ukraine more than anything else. But there's no question that there's a disconnect in prices. There's an arbitrage in prices. Natural gas in Europe is really expensive. I wouldn't want to be Ireland. You're at the very end of the Russian pipeline. And then the question comes, is Russian natural gas as plentiful? It is plentiful, but is it as recoverable? That's a better word. Recoverable as everyone expects. We'll find out. The United States has enormous reserves of natural gas in Pennsylvania, New York, which doesn't allow drilling, Ohio, Texas. We flared most of our natural gas for decades out of Kansas. We just burned it, just flared it all. But it used to be there. Wyoming, we flared it. It's just stupid. But we have a lot of natural gas here. And the arbitrage, obviously, Kevin, you used to be able to buy natural gas here at $2. I don't know where it is now. We've had a cold winter. And you sell it over there for $6, $7, $8. That pays for ports, transport. It's pretty good trade. Personally, I wish we wouldn't sell our LNG to Europe. I wish we would build factories here, use our own natural gas to have industry here in North America, rather than selling it abroad as if we're Saudi Arabia or Brunei. Korean Yoon, I've listened to different thinkers and smart people, and therefore it's over my head. But I don't think AI is ever going to think. On the one hand, the American model is brute force. So you have massive computer power attacking a problem, like you say, and it's programming, it's repetition. What's 2 + 2? Well, they run through the numbers and it's pretty quick. What's, a gazillion times 20 trillion? Well, they have to run through the numbers a lot and they get there, but it's brute force. I guess what DeepSeek did is use software, as you imply, programming, to just focus on the information they need rather than that brute power. But in both cases, it's not thinking. It's just really powerful yes-no processing. And that enters a whole debate. Where does consciousness come from? What is our brain? Is our brain a organ that thinks, or is it a receiver? It obviously has some capacity of instinct and maintaining our bodies, but when our thoughts get involved, is consciousness somehow outside of our brain and we just participate? Nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows for sure. But I don't think computers are going to have consciousness. Whoa, RC8 500? Yeah, that would be, you're right. If you, $500 100 years ago, you're right. I didn't think of that. All right. I think that's right. I wouldn't want, I'm not sure DEI is correct anyway, but we must acknowledge, I do anyway, that like Barron Trump, for example, I'm not picking on him. I like Barron Trump. I thought that guy showed so much beyond his age class when he reached across and shook hands. Not picking on him. But there's no question that he's getting a head start in life. He's tall. His mother is beautiful. So he's handsome. And he's rich. And the cameras shine on him. So he's getting ahead. And he's got the best education in the world. There's no question that there's some advantages there. So I think it's more important that people be given similar access to education and opportunity than it is that the final product. I mean, I don't see a big DEI push in the bricklayers union or the pipe fitters union or the crab fisheries union or the deep sea drilling union or the coal miners union. You just see it at what's considered, port outbound, starboard home, the posh jobs. If you talk to actual pilots, yeah, a friend of mine told me that DC is worth, I think he said there's only one other airport that one of his pilot friends hates. I think it was Telluride. It might have been, I forget. That's what comes to my head. I always thought San Diego wasn't much fun. And I think I flew into Antigua once, and I didn't see how that was much fun either. But yeah, my friend's friend, who's a pilot, said DC scares him. It's very restricted space. And every time I land, sometimes you land directly, but most of the time they take the flight, I guess, into Virginia, certainly into Maryland, south, and then you loop around. So if you're flying in from the north, by the time you land, you're landing from the south, or probably the Potomac isn't directly south. It's probably southeast. Wouldn't be prudent. %92 of commercial pilots are men, and of those men, 82% are white. It's time to change that. That's not fair. I want it changed. We're going to put a woman in charge of it, and she's going to make sure that 50% of pilots are women. Does that make sense? I guess it makes sense on paper. I used to get into that argument, Matt, with somebody who's a very successful money manager today, probably number one in the city, number two maybe. And man, she would not hear what I was saying. But she made it, but she wanted it then. She wanted equality. Women should have this right then. That's, I don't know, 40 years ago. And I told her, yeah, I get that. But there's an aspect of all jobs that is learning, length of service, experience. And back then I think there was one or two female house, Lacey Davenport, I think that was her name, in Doonesbury, was a representative of one female House member. There just weren't many women in Congress. There weren't many women in reporting. Helen Thomas got a lot of attention. And so if you looked at it, yeah, it's all unfair. But my argument was to her, because back then I never experienced any advantage that I knew of anyway to being a man. Every school I went to, there were every job application, every play, there was always, everything was leveled up. But that was my generation. But I just said a lot of these people are 50, 60, 70 years old. It took them years to learn how to do that job. You can't just, it won't change overnight. But I tell her, by the time you're 60, it'll be even. Well, she's probably right, because I don't think it's quite even. But there's a lot of female senators, a lot of female Congress women. There's a lot of women in government. The universities, it's 60 or 65% women vis-a-vis men. Doctorates are 63% or more women versus men. Even doctors, medical school, women. Everything has changed. So, but she didn't see that that would happen. I'm not against, Matt. I'm not against well, if you tell me a woman should be, I don't know, I'm going to be absurd, play professional football alongside men, I'm going to tell you, yeah, it doesn't seem fair, but she's just not built. I'm not built. I can't play professional football. I mean, to me, those men are a whole different species. They're 300 pounds. I roomed with a guy. He was a nice guy. He wanted me to date his sister. And I said, Carl, I don't think yeah, if she's around, why not? But Carl was so big. Anyway, I won't say that, but he was so big. He would walk into the kitchen or into the hallway or into the front door. The rest of us would just bound through. He would have to turn sideways to get through the door. His arms were massive. He ended up being a defensive end or something for the Broncos. And he was tall. He'd have to duck. This guy he's a good guy. And more than once he showed how good a guy he was. But it's just different. It's not how I'm built. But anyway, so there are times when I don't think 100-pound women, like in all the movies now, 115-pound women can fight just like they're a man. That doesn't make sense. That's dream world. But I think in most areas, with training, with experience, But what's funny about it? It takes years. It takes dedication. It takes hard work. It takes your teens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and then you become partner at a law firm. Your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, then you become the top surgeon. It's just how it is. And one thing men can't do, men can't have children. Men can't have children. So as a species, we want to make it all equivalent on the one side, which is fine. But we gloss over the fact that it's not just brains, it's not just talent, it's not just luck, it's time, it's dedication. And so if you really want to get to the top of your field, you can't have children. And that's what's happening. And it's too bad. It's too bad. That's the biology. I don't know how you change that, you know. But anyway, I don't think that's a sexist situation. I think that's the result of decades of men choosing to go into the military. And I don't think women used to choose it. Maybe they do now in larger numbers. But why would anyone choose to go get slaughtered, to lose their arm, lose their eyesight, get shot at? I don't know. Wow. So when you go in pilot in the past 25 years, you're always nervous because of the traffic flow? God. And I guess it's because you have blind spots. It's not like you can turn around and look out both windows or your rear view mirror. That's what I agree. I don't think you should practice when real lives are at risk. The cited FAA text is real, but the implication that the policy is new or that it started with Buttigieg and Biden was demonstratively false. It has been included on the FAA's website since 2000 and since Obama. It was present during the Trump administration. That's probably makes sense. I took profit in Nixie and bought DJT. I don't own DJT, but that's been brilliant as a stock to trade. And just to sell calls. I mean, if you own DJT as a stock, so many times you could have sold 2-week calls, 1-week calls at a huge premium that end up being worth zero. I would have done that a lot if I owned DJT. Yeah, I believe that, Matt. I believe that, Matt. Yeah, thank you, Matt. I remember your, I want to say father died, but it might have been your grandfather died maybe 2 years ago. And I remember how difficult that was for you. And I hope as time goes by, it has gone by, that it's become a little easier to absorb. I tell you, Matt, it made all the difference yesterday. Seeing that dog, it made all the difference. I might be lying to myself, but I feel it gave me, because I had a little, I still do have a little guilt if I could have done better by him. But the joy, to see the joy was amazing. Hey, Donna. Europe has no future as long as there's an EU. Well, I think that's half a sentence. I think there is a future with a European Union but there has to be changes. For example, they need one bond market. And you actually really need one federal government. And will that ever happen? No, of course not. Everybody's upset with Brussels and Luxembourg. And they don't want to give up their fiefdoms. But the biggest advantage the United States has over Europe is we have one. It's all corrupt to hell right now, but we have one national bond market. We have one national government. And frankly, we all speak English primarily. I mean, we have some Spanish and other languages. So if you are in Boston and you lost your job as a, I don't know, as a roofer, you could actually get in your truck and drive down to Oklahoma or Texas and get a job, or Virginia and get a job. And it's the same regulatory environment federally. It's the same currency. It's the same rules and regs federally. There's some differences state. And same language. And they don't have, I mean, you'd be surprised in Europe if you live there, or the UK, how many people come from Slovenia to work in London and vice versa. How many people speak English or speak, I mean, English is the main one, but speak German, speak French, speak Spanish and Italian. And so there's a lot of cross-border flow that didn't used to be there, but is now. But the biggest thing, I think, Europe, you know, people criticize the EU and they seem to make it work, but you can't have a separate Germany demanding tight money and a Greece wanting loose money, or in Italy. It really should become the United States of Europe if they want to do that together. Otherwise, you're right. They probably need to go back to being nation states. Could they have one currency still? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe if it's gold backed and not run out of the bureaucracy. I don't know. I'm not a PhD in economics or finance. Seymour Hersh, yeah, I remember that, but that's Seymour Hersh used to be the favorites of the left, but now he's kind of put on the edge as a conspiracy theorist. I admire him. He's one of our last journalists, but I think it is true that who really knows? But you always ask, who does it benefit? And I think it was Victoria Nuland, Samantha Power, Barack Obama's crew of people. Russia is going to have the American century, in my opinion. They have a smaller population to distribute it across. There's a lot of complexity, a lot of issues. But Putin has brought God back to the Soviet Union. And They're highly educated. They work hard. They had a generation, actually 2 generations of men missing because of the wars. They were early on with DEI, and they had a lot of men who, because when women take over the roles for men and they ridicule men, and they don't validate female roles for men, and I don't know many men that want to take female roles on, but by definition, if women move in and become the protector, the provider, I don't know. I don't think women are particularly good at being mentors, but maybe they are. They're good at teaching, but I don't know. But anyway, being a mentor, protector, provider, mentor, and leader I think is the other one that men, those are the 4 roles that men typically have. But if you give that to women, which is fine, I'm not here to debate that. What do men have left? Nothing a man does. I have a good friend in London, and she was very successful, went to the top of Wall Street and Fleet Street. And beautiful woman, she dated, everybody wanted her, and she dated particularly one guy that was just a perfect match for her, at least it seemed like. But she could never get over that he didn't make as much money as she did. She just couldn't get over it. And I would say, well, everything else works. You're making the money. Why don't you allow him? He worked at a flower shop and a deli, and he would read all the time, and he loved to watch football or talk about. He had a book, and I actually got in a discussion with him. I just listened about the last trial of Christ, or he would talk about whether you should eat blueberries or not, or history or space. He's just a very interesting person to talk to. Easy with everybody, but she couldn't get over that he didn't make as much money as she did. And I never understood that, but it's ingrained. It's just how, as much as everything's going to change, we haven't changed the roles for men. Those are the four roles, and that's what women today are all dating the same man. Women, younger women anyway, are agreeing, maybe not overtly, but in general, they've just agreed we'll all sleep with the same guy, because they all want that 5%, 6% of the male population. They don't want the rest of it. And when they make their own money, and when they have their own domain, when they have their own children, who blames them? As a friend of mine who was home, a very close friend, at least for a while, who was homecoming queen at my college, said to me, well, it's a little bit crude, but basically, why should I be with a man who does this, and this around the house for the rest of my life? Why should I marry him? And that was my generation. She's not married today. She still has, plenty of men, but male attention, male affection. But why indeed? I'm not getting caught up in that. It's just getting back to the Soviet Union, what happened to those men as the Leninist, Marxist empowerment of of women went on is they drank. They drank. And I don't know what it's like now, but men, a great swath of Soviet men just drank themselves into the grave. And they were white, they were straight, but they weren't validated. They weren't rewarded for being men. They weren't given a positive role in society for being strong, for being able to work 10, 12 hours a day and enduring without having to take a break because of whatever. Anyway, I don't want to go all down the comparison, but it's just an experiment we're going through. And yeah, the future's female. Look where it goes. I mean, there was a female doctor, a sociologist, that studied apes and monkeys, and most of those societies were patriarchal, but she found one that was matriarchal, and she did a study on it. And one of the things she noticed, and by the way, there wasn't a lot of building, there wasn't a lot of cooperation, there wasn't a lot of creation in this. I think they were monkeys, not apes, this matriarchal monkey society. But there was hypersexualization. And I don't know if that's because of that. But I do remember my mother, who was a feminist, pushing for, equal rights. But she at least claimed that it was not to be. One of the reasons was the objectification of women as sexual objects, the taking advantage of women because of their sex, the abuse of women, the use and discardation of women because of sex, the mistreatment of women by men. But then, I don't know, I'm just one observer. I just think everything's gotten really hypersexualized in my lifetime. And the freedom that feminism promises is all this sexual liberation. I'm not taking a stand against it, whatever. But then it goes to this extreme. And anyway, I don't want to go down that line of reasoning because it can be provocative. But I know as a society, it's an experiment. It is an experiment. And it might be a threat to our continuation as a population. We'll see. Better have some real proof. About whether we blew up Nord Stream or about I've been careful. I haven't said anything about. There's talk that anyway. I haven't talked about the helicopter pilot or the controller at all. Sheriff said, "Wolf." Oh, I love Sheriff. He needs his snout grabbed. I happen to agree with Seymour Hersh, and I think his sources of information are pretty high. It wasn't Russia, and it wasn't the Ukraine. Not what you know, what you can prove. Well, Matt, is that true? There's a lot of life that we just accept on faith and we don't have the proof. Anyway, the one that comes to mind will get me in trouble on YouTube. Not trying to be a pain, but throwing conspiracies around without proof does nothing for anyone. Well, Matt, we all do it. We all, one of the signs of intelligence is pattern recognition. We all do it. You do it too. Jesse Jackson said he did it. When he was younger, Jesse Jackson said, hey, if I'm walking down a street by myself, and I've met Jesse Jackson. He's a big guy. But he said, if I see two African-American, I don't know how he described them, but African-American guys wearing hoods, shuffling, low jeans and strong, and it's 2 a.m, he says, I tighten up a little bit. And that's, I mean, we all do it. And I remember being once in New York City and I was walking through an Italian neighborhood. I was much younger and there was this huge melee in the street. It was all white. I was nervous as hell. I was like, you know, I booked down and across the street and I went into the subway to get out of there. I was like, oh man, it had nothing to do with race. But the point is our brains look at something and say, pattern here. Like I just said, I don't want to fly international. Is that rational? Probably not. I've never been in an accident. But all of a sudden, my brain is saying, there's a pattern there. So I don't want to fly. Anyway, we all do it. It's what you do after your first response in terms of race or discrimination that matters. It's after that initial, subconscious calculation your brain makes. That's what tests your quality, but your humanity. But we all make assumptions without proof, Matt. We all do it. We all do it. You do it too. We all make assumptions without proof. A stock, for example. Oh, Nixie's being crushed again. I assume the next thought is it's going to go down further. It could, but anyway, we all do it, Matt. We all make projections, assumptions, decisions without proof. We all do it. And if you tell me CNN, New York Times is proof, I'll tell you they're a day late and $1 short over the last decade. Eventually, it appears 5 years later. Anyway, I'm not fighting with you. I mean, it's just an interesting topic. I agree with you. You shouldn't just have a conspiracy theory, like, for example, I don't know why it's controversial, but we didn't go to the moon. A friend of mine brought that up a month ago with me. And I don't know. I remember when they brought the moon rock to my high school. I could look at it. We all looked at it. I remember I was in Moscow on a black and white TV. Our whole living room was full of people watching it on this black and white TV that had a little bit of the only time we ever used the TV, we could watch Tim E. Tom cartoons for about 15 minutes. There wasn't much else on. Very martial music and things. is it still a good time to buy GBUX? That's Ham's story. So let's see what he says when he calls. But yeah, it's now up. GBUX is 177. It's 26,000 shares. And let's just look at a chart. Let's see what GBUX is doing on a chart. I mean, it's about all I can add to the story. That's finger motion, which with my quick look, that's it's got a hold here. Finger motion does. Let me just do finger motion quickly. I don't know why it's not letting me draw. Okay. I think something in here, something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she moves me. I don't want to leave her now. Dun, dun, dun. You're asking me, will my love grow? I don't know. I don't know. All right, that's how I see finger. You could draw this line completely differently, but that's how I see it. So I think finger's going to bounce somewhere in here and go back up. And then once it breaks through here, I think it goes to 150. And then this 155 range, that's where I think finger's going to go. But there's always risk. All right, let me see what GBUX does. You're asking me, will my love? I don't know. I don't know. Is that the symbol? It didn't come up. Just stick around now, it may show. All right, there. No, I can't get a chart on it. Maybe it hasn't been around long enough. All right, so let me go to bar chart, which I can't really, I don't think I can really draw on. GBUX. But my answer is yes. I think GBUX is, you can still buy it. And in fact, it might be breaking out is my answer. Let's look at 6 months. Let's look at 1 year. All right, let's look at the full chart. I don't think I can draw on this. Oh, here it says interactive. Maybe I can draw on it. This doesn't make sense. Yeah, maybe I can. No. All right, so I'll just use this, what I've got here. Support now is probably here at $1.20 ish. If I could draw a line here, I would draw one down this pyramid and across, and the stock has broken out, Connie. I think it's gapped. It broke through this downward trend that I can't draw here. I don't know how to do. And it's run up. Could it pull back? Sure, because you always get a test, because this was resistance, it becomes support. On the other hand, it looks like it's breaking out here, or it tried to this morning. And I think if it goes above 232, it could go a lot higher. Let me just see what the maximum is on this chart. Wow, there is something here. 20 years, 10 years, 5 years. All right, 5-year chart. I wish I could draw a different line, but I can't. There's a gap here up to 399. Are you out of your mind? So if it gets through, and look, it's no wonder it's taking a little while to get through there. That's some resistance, 237. But if it gets through 237, I wouldn't be surprised that the next go is $4, because that's the gap. This is all speculative, of course. And then, there's some maybe here, but I think the next area to look for would be $9, $9.50, $9.50. And then the all-time high is $20. All right, so now, Connie, look at this. Last time it was here, that looks like it was a penny. It quickly traded up. Is this a monthly chart? It's probably monthly. It's probably, or it could be weekly. It's weekly. Maybe it's daily. I can't see on here. My eye is killing me. I can't see here whether this is daily or weekly. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. It went from 40 cents to $1.86 right here, either in a day or a week. Right here. It pulled back. It came back down to 105, and then it ran to 591, pulled back to 353, and then it just went like a rocket to $20. So it can happen quickly. And then, of course, it pulled back, nightmare for anybody in it, and it rallied back. That would have been a clear time to sell, in my opinion, after getting that breakdown. Just get out of it. And then down, gap down, destroyed by short sellers. And I've heard from Ham there's a large short position there. I don't know. I don't know how to confirm that. I'd say it's worth buying. It'll be volatile, but it's worth buying. Okay, this is Railtown. One-year chart on Railtown. 20 cents, I would say, is the very absolute worst point for support. Although recently they did this trade down at a penny just to screw us up. This was the downtrend that it broke out of slowly. This is the uptrend. 40 cents happened here, and here. I choose to ignore this one back here because you had the downturn. I don't know if I should ignore this one, but I It doesn't matter. Because it pulled back down. I choose to count it from here. You have a rally, it went to 40, pulled back, went to 40, pulled back. And third time, if it gets to 40, I think will be the charm. Now you may say, no, that's going to be the fourth time. 1, 2, 3, 4. You might be right. Could be the fifth time. I don't know. I see it as this strong downtrend was broken, so it pushed to 40, pulled back, pushed to 40. This is a deeper pullback, but it hasn't broken here. So I don't think it's a fatal pullback at all. And I think it's an opportunity. It's starting to show strength. If I could draw it here, I would have a pennant there. I also think, I don't know, I think it's broken this downtrend on the way back up. We'll see. Anyway, so 1, 2, breaks 40 again, it might be 3. And I think it goes. And the high here is 62 cents. I very arbitrarily have picked the warrant in the offering they just did where the company can call the stock. I think had a $1.20 or $1.25 call level. I've kind of arbitrarily picked that as the first point at which, if it breaks through here, it could go higher than that, but that it would have trouble getting through around that $1.25 number. Why? Because the company may force exercise of those shares. It'll take a month, so it could break out much higher sooner. Don't know. It's just picking an arbitrary number. So if you can buy something at 30 cents, sell it at $1.20, that's not bad. But I think for all the reasons I've given you, that Railtown has a market cap, I think right now, 50 million. I think it could be $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion company with a revaluation. That's Railtown. Hey, Snowbot. It wasn't Russian who did it. I agree. Why would Russia cut off their pipeline? I wouldn't. And I think Seymour Hersh, I think he had a big book on the Middle East, which I think I bought and read. Or I bought it and never got in it. I can't remember. That guy can write, though. I like him. Hey, Brian. DEI is not merit-based, and without merit, we have nothing. Without puppy dogs, DEI and AA was defeated. What's AA? Affirmative action. Because of a 50-year-long fight from Asian student groups. Wow. I don't know if I work hard for you or for me. And that's all I need. I look around me. This is all I need. And that, and that. I'm not going to read that one out. Do you know how quickly they shut down the channel? God. Thank Asians for the end of DEI and AA. Yeah. Yeah, it's in my Mitchell. It's risky to point out, but as you know, there's a lot of different Asians. You know, there's Vietnamese, Koreans, Chinese, Thai, Indonesian. Maybe, you know, if you're Kamala, you call yourself Asian. You're Indian. Tulsi Gabbard, who's a Samoan, but she might be. So there's a lot of Asians, so it's not just one monolithical thing. I would argue there's a lot of white guys. It's not one monolithical thing, but anyway, one part of the Asian culture got dragged into the United States and very poorly treated, the Chinese. And I haven't studied it, so I can't give you any interesting facts. But I think they were abused, San Francisco and elsewhere, to build, the Intercontinental Railway didn't actually go at first span the whole continent. It actually went to a point in the west, but and they or it started from a point in the west and they connected wherever it connected, I don't remember. But, the Irish got caught up in that too. And of course, African Americans. It's tough how human beings treat each other. But my point is, though, at least is for one slice of life that I've experienced, a lot of Asian Americans, just like Palestinians here, just like Jewish people that are Jewish here, and I actually think Irish and Italian it applies to too, but more well known are these groups focused on education and working hard. My gosh, working hard and working for the next generation. And it in a way, this is the part that's a little risky, but in a way, I think Asian Americans, obviously 100 years ago, there was all that mistreatment. But in some ways, Asian Americans leapfrogged through the discrimination phase. That's the part that I would say is a little controversial on my part. But by hard work, talent, deserving it, I think America has accepted a lot of different cultures and given opportunities. And there's nothing like success to breed acceptance, I guess. Are shorting entities keeping DJT and Finger down? So the strike price is never net for today. Net or met? Yeah, a lot of this is done. Let me just check my messages. It's 2:00. A lot of it's done just a group of people for their own self-interest. But yeah, if you're a shorter, you can sell DJT without owning it, without locating it. If you're one of Jeff Easton's clients, you've already slaughtered Finger with a lot of fake shares. My opinion, you have had time to move a lot of those shares offshore. And Wagner doesn't want you looking at them. All the Democrats that went after Tulsi Gabbard, they don't want warrants for the national security infrastructure of this country to go after your phone calls. Democrats, they want the government to be able to go through all of your communications without a warrant. Yet Ann Wagner doesn't want a consolidated audit trail for privacy. Our Congress is all lobbyists. It's bought and paid for. How does Nancy Pelosi come out 100 millionaire? How does Joe Biden, who used to be the lowest wealth guy, become the wealthiest? and so on. It's all bought and paid for. Our government is bought and paid for. I didn't answer your question. Is today an expiry date? I don't know, but yeah, they play with it all, and they'll play with it all sorts of different ways. We are the suckers as investors. We are the suckers. Wall Street is set up for the people out of New York with the gravelly voices. I think you should buy SBEV. It's built for those guys to make their living. My friend's sister was rather, she was bigger than I was, but he liked me and he wanted me to Carl Mecklenburg. It's a long time ago. He was a good guy. It should be meritocracy. Kenny Zoo and Color Us United. Color Me Barbara, I think, was the first album of Barbra Streisand. Yeah, I think it should be meritocracy. But where it gets difficult is just going back to when racial hatred was evil here in the United States. If people don't learn to read or write, and they're not allowed to learn to read or write, they're at a severe disadvantage the rest of their life, and they can be taken advantage of. So that's where it gets tough. I think everyone should get equal opportunity, regardless of obvious merit, in their educational years, because you don't know who's going to take the education and learn and do well. Question is, should it be through age 18, age 22, doctorate? I don't know. I think it should be at least through high school, and then through maybe a state university or military service or technical trades, carpenter, a trade, or maybe computers, or maybe, some other skill. Because Mitchell, in the future, we're not going to need PhDs in gender studies. We're not going to need so many investment bankers. We're not going to need all these lawyers, although there'll be a need for lawyers. We're not going to need art history. We're not going to need all of this. I can envision a world where people that can do things, that have skills, are going to make a lot more money than people who can write an article for the Washington Post. That might be true. I wouldn't say everything. I remember when the Democratic Party had some good people in it. Who's good in there now? Tulsi, RFK? Yeah, you might have a point. You might have a point. Well, I want to limit my observation to, I think it's wrong to promote people past their ability, past their skill level, which I agree, ability and skills can improve as you work, as you get experience. But if you just jump to the top of the line without that experience or knowledge, it's an experiment. Without women, we have nothing. That's true. That's true. We don't have crazy. We don't have late night phone calls. We don't have beauty. We don't have joy. We don't have fun. We don't have seasons in the sun. No, you're right. I don't know of a single war ever started over a man. I agree with you, Mark. But Mark, respectfully, if you can't talk about it and think about it and recognize that it is a large experiment, and it may work out just fine. I mean, I'm not saying, but, and maybe it's the only way to do it. But in the span of 20 years, maybe 30, make sure everything's 50-50, regardless of skill, when for thousands of years, things evolved different. No, that was the patriarchy. The patriarchy did that. My brother had a friend out of London who he got in a discussion with it. And women want equal rights, my brother said. And his British friend said, why would they give up so much power? It's all in your perspective. Barbara's right. Mark has a ton of common sense, and he has a heart. And he has a heart. And it's good parenting. Didn't like your rules 30 years ago, but they still come around. You know the rules, Barbara, you know the rules. I think women, now Mike brings up a good point. I agree with that 100%. I think a man by himself is lost, absolutely lost. My dad used to tell me you can't go through life alone, which I guess that's where I ended up. But I think it's probably both ways. But a woman can give a man advice if he listens to it, that just like you said, Mike, will save him a lot of pain. But I studied economics, and they have a theory, I don't know if it's worth anything, called comparative advantage. So if you have a country like the United States who can make corn and can make, for lack of a better example, pop music, and you have a country, let's say like the United Kingdom, who can make corn and can make pop music, the theory is the United States can do both well, but their comparative advantage would be in the corn, because we have these amber waves of grain. In the UK, they can do corn, but maybe not to such an extent, not with the weather, not with the seasons, but man, the music. So if the UK were to focus all of its energies on pop music, they could sell that worldwide and buy corn, because their comparative advantage is within the UK. If they spend their energies, they get more pop music than they get corn in value. And then in the United States, if those are the only two products on offer, the United States spends its energy. It has a comparative advantage in corn, because whilst the United States maybe could do music better than the UK, inside of the United States, they can do more corn by value and buy the music. All right, hang on. I got to get your speaker back up. Let me see if it happens. If I'm lucky, it'll just come up right now. I had it ready.
Battery 40%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
No, let me call you right back. All right, I got to turn my phone off. Okay. Okay. It's taking a while to come back on. So anyway, it's possible that men have some comparative advantages within their own structure. They can focus on certain things better than if they focused on other. And maybe that applies to women too. And by the way, when we talk about it in general, there's a bell curve. It's not to say that there aren't exceptional people on either end of every curve. All right, this should work. This should work. There, that should work. All right, that should work.
All right, Christian Shaughnessy hooked me up with a big-time reporter that's got that wants to help fight for public companies against the DOJ and the SEC. I'm waiting for him to call me up, and I'll get that working for us. And he wants to take companies on like a finger motion and go right to DC and with the proof and the data and get it exposed. So out of the blue, we have another fighter for us, and he's a pretty wealthy.
Kristen Shaughnessy's the best.
She is phenomenal. When I first spoke with her, I taught her, and she just picked up on it and has run with it, and has been nothing but a fighter. That's what it takes. Everyone just row in the boat, and we will get it done. That's how I look at it, and I just want to let you know about that. So we have someone that's going to help us out here. So it's all good. Finger motion again. I spoke to a friend of mine who owns 100,000 shares, and he saw the spoof the other day of 36,000, which I reported is going to be a wash, which they did. He said, there's nobody selling. We all know what's going on. We all know the reports are coming. We know the special dividends coming. Everybody knows all good things are coming for finger motion. The stock to be higher than $1.50, and the shorts won't let it go up a nickel because they know that margin's going to kill them. So, again, they're just playing game. They trapped themselves in this game. Finger motion, if we didn't fight to expose it, would be KNW. And you agree with that, right, William?
Say that again.
If we didn't stand up and fight.
Oh yeah. I think finger motion would be 10 cents, 5 cents, even with good news, because they would have had to raise money again and again through the criminal Lynn Partners group.
Right. So this company has fought off the criminals And now the criminals have a massive problem because guess what? The company has the money, and in time, the companies come up with the fundamental news to survive. So unlike K&W, this is the complete opposite of that. They tried to attack it. The company fought it off with all the great shareholders that came here. And now they have a real problem. They're trying to just fuck around with you guys. It's the end of the month. They're trying to mark it down. There's no reason for selling like this every day. It's all make-believe. I posted the other day, William, I caught 3 trades that were equivalent to like 120,000 shares. Out of 200,000 shares, 120 was all fake. You know, I missed a few here and there. So I'll say out of that day, 250,000 was real, 150,000 was fake, wash, cross, whatever you want to call it. Make-believe trades. The other day, William, I had a gentleman who bought 50,000 shares. I was with him. He was buying it on his app. As he bought it, the volume never increased in the market. So, for example, it was 189, I believe, when he started buying it the other day. That was the volume. He bought 5. I made him buy it in pieces. And the volume stayed at 189. So these trades were going into a dark pool, and they weren't even reporting the volume. He was just
Is
getting
that
reports.
allowed? I guess.
What's the difference? It's the Wild West. They do whatever the hell they want, right?
I mean, I thought volume had to be reported. It may be late, but it had to be reported.
Well, we watched him do it. I watched the guy buy 50,000 shares. The volume was 189. After 25 minutes, the volume was 190, and he bought 50,000 shares. Never moved. And I was standing right next to him. So these guys have multiple ways to, screw around, play games. I put up the other day, William, on Twitter, Alpine. I had this schematic of all the LLCs they have. They probably have 100 LLCs, and they just keep moving around. What prime broker has all these LLCs? They're doing it to hide money. That's all they did. They robbed everybody, and how they're still not in jail is just amazing. But I sent it to the FBI and the DOJ saying, hey, here they are. Here's all their LLCs, and this is what they do. Just remarkable stuff that's going on. But again, I don't know how Trump hasn't spoken. I spoke to multiple people, and they all believe that once the SEC chair, Atkins, is confirmed, they have a plan to expose these characters. And just like I've been calling out Devin Nunes, for those who don't know, Devin Nunes at a Truth Social has put out 20 press releases attacking the short sellers for defrauding their investors and manipulation. He cannot step back. He has to address that. So, he has to address it. And at any given time, I expect them to come out and address this again. And it's going to be through the president and the DOJ or the FBI or the SEC telling these people they're going to jail. Because there's no way out of it. He has to speak up, Devin. Just like the CEO of Finger Motion has to get us on special dividend when it's ready to go, or else everyone's going to kill him. So you know what's coming. What else we got, William?
Let me look at the prices. I mean, people have been asking about GBUX today. And
well, I'll give you my opinion on GBUX. You ready?
Yeah.
This morning, the stock, someone was bought in for about 10,000 shares. So there was a buy-in this morning of about 10,000 shares. These guys were selling it short at $1.20, $1.30, and they just wind up getting bought in this morning at $2.34. And everyone would sit there and say, well, what does that mean? Well, that means in this name that the short sellers are now under fire, meaning that there's a problem, someone's looking for it, and they're beginning to buy people in. All right? I told you before, I think the short seller in GBUX is a novice. He's the guy at the end of the desk that just jumped in and thought he found.
How many shares do you think are short?
I would. The high end is 500, the low end 300. I'll say 400,000 to 500,000 shares is my guess. You know, you start doing 10 to 20,000 a day, it adds up quick. 5 days is 100,000 a week. So these guys are short. I calculated it. It's got to be below $1. And they tried the kamikaze approach the other day. They sold 5,000 at the market the other day. It's a very thin stock. They sold it down to 93. I know someone who scooped it all up. The next day they sold 7,000 at the market. It was $1.40. They tried to drive it down. He bought it at $1.10. The people bought it. So they tried the kamikaze approach. That didn't work. And now they're starting to see buyers every day coming into it. I think they realize that they have a real problem here. So selling the stock at $1.70 and getting it bought back at $2.50 or $2.60, they're going to lose 80 cents a day. They're going to get wiped out. So I think that's the zone it's in right now. In my opinion, it's 230, William. It's 230 right now. I think the stock on the close has a chance to run to 3. That's my opinion, only because I think the shorts know they're in trouble.
Where do you see 230?
That was today's high, 234.
All right, okay.
I think today that the short will panic, because if you're a short seller and you have multiple accounts and all of a sudden you're getting bought in, selling it at $1.50, getting bought in at 230, you're losing 80 cents. If they keep doing that every day, your stock is going to keep going higher. You can't sell it lower and buy it back higher.
So you think 10,000 shares was covered this morning?
100%. It opened up, it closed at $1.50, and it gapped open to 230, 234 in the opening.
And do you think that's it? That's all the shares they needed to cover from this one?
That was one short. Maybe they sold it to E-Trade, and E-Trade said we want delivery of the shares, and the stock, they just bought it in.
Right.
Someone bought it in. Someone had a conscience and bought it in.
Right.
Because that to me tells me the trend is your friend, and there's going to be more in this name. Okay. We've been watching finger motion a long time. I never see buy-ins there.
So I guess my question is, will there be more buying in today, Monday, Tuesday?
I think the shorts are realizing it. Listen, everybody, we're all the short seller. We're selling stock short at $1.50, and someone's buying in your stock at $2.30. You lose 80 cents. You can sit there and say, well, it's only one time. But what happens if it happens again and again and again? They don't control that. Someone took the initiative and bought them in. So to me, it tells me that this is going to be a short squeeze, a fundamental play that gets a quick short squeeze pop, and then it'll go back to being fundamentals. That's what I believe.
Okay.
I think you can turn your back and this thing could be $5.
Well, I just pulled up a chart, and I happen to agree with your assessment differently, but if it goes through 240, whatever that high number, 230 something, I think it can go to $4 without even blinking.
Yeah, listen, I didn't get into this stock for a short squeeze. They just kept coming. And I watched the attacks the other day. I had a comment on it because it's just so obvious. And, I have every right in the world to tell you what I see.
Right.
I'm not asking anyone to buy it. My opinion is, as a naked short seller observer, these guys are 100% are rookies. You're talking about rookie. The guy that's doing this stock is a guy at the end of the desk who wanted to try to find something on his own, and now his firm is telling him, hey, you're going to get crushed here. If you're short 400,000 or 500,000 shares when it goes to $5, you're going to be down $2 million. Trying to make 500,000, losing $2.5 million is not going to work.
His desk is closest to the elevator or to the window.
That's exactly what's going to happen here. This is a very different situation than Finger or DJT. You got professional guys here that have been doing it a long time. Don't get me wrong, they get blown out too, but this is a small person that's going to get blown out. That's just my opinion of it. I don't even talk about it, and it just keeps going up. I'm not even looking at it all day, and it just keeps crawling up. I have one friend that sold 600 shares at $2.20. He's 170 bid trying to buy it back. So he took advantage of buy the dip, sell the rip. And now he's buying back in, which is great. Because if he buys it at 170 and he made 60 cents, that means the stock he's paying 170 for, he's buying it, he owns it at $1.10. So, you know, that's a good thing. And again, the short seller in this stock is a novice. He's an idiot. He's tried every trick in the book that we all watch every day.
Julie Kim bought GBUX at 172, and you know what she did? She immediately put a sell order out at 5.
I would tell her, I don't know what she purchased, whatever you purchased.
172, I don't know how many
right,
shares.
So if you bought 100 shares, you put 50 out there at 285, and then hold the other stock because basically you own it for less than $1. And see if it really runs. You know, this company, I'm hearing some great fundamental story out of it, you know, and let's see if it comes true next week.
That's the next question from Travis. What does GBUX do?
I'm hearing tremendous big money deals coming into this stock. Big money deals like $100, $200 million deals coming into this name. Remember, this is coming out of Goldman Sachs. So if Goldman Sachs is getting into it, I told everybody here that where it came from the beginning. I didn't misrepresent any of it. I told you what I heard. And I'm hearing louder and louder major deals coming in here. And when it does come in here, this company's going to have tremendous fundamentals. Not saying boo about a naked short. I didn't even expect them to be in here. But you know these guys, they're like a pig. You can't trust a pig with the watermelons. That's what they say on The Simpsons. And here they are. There's a stock trading. Let me sell some shares and be the other side of it. And they trap themselves. That's all I know. That's as much as I know. It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to see the criminals trapping themselves in the stock. It's very easy to see. So I let them play their game. The stock has got buyers here. You know, the stock is only moving up because there's people standing there underneath with sizable orders. I know one guy's trying to buy 50,000 and he's waiting in the wings for an attack to see if they come in and he'll scoop it up. So where are they going? It's like
right now they simplify mobile payments, gifting, rewards, 250,000 merchant locations, et cetera, peer-to-peer messaging.
Listen, wait till the news comes out. All right. I'm hearing it's coming shortly. Let's see what it is. What's the difference if you paid 172 or 272 for something that can move, you know, who knows, $20, $30. Let's see what happens.
Are you kidding?
Listen, some of these things that come out of these big houses start small and they ramp up and they go on fundamentals.
Because they have built-in buyers, I guess, in their portfolio.
Listen, if an investment banker from Goldman Sachs has his friends in here trying to pick at it, all right, I think that they once they get the fundamental news in here, you can rest assured that they have good friends that'll come and buy it. I don't know what it is. It's not me. Again, this is what they do. So listen, I can never tell anyone to buy a lot of this thing because I have really as much knowledge as everyone else. I'm hearing it like I heard MLSS, which has moved past 130. William was 135.
They're saying a couple people are saying they're a tire company. I don't see that in the CEO, the president's.
Well, why don't you wait to see what the company? Listen, for those who want to see it, let's see what the news is. I hear big news is on the way. Let's see what they do.
Umesh Singh is the president, and in his
let them make their. Listen, I've always said this. Let them make the move first. And then you can adjust and make a decision on whatever you want to do. That's up to you. I'm a believer in, I come from a world, I was just with a good friend of mine that I used to work with on the trading desk, and he was a big trader at Knight Securities. And I asked him point blank, I says, who the hell is behind these, naked shorts? And he says, these guys don't give a shit. That's what he said. They're all shapes and different sizes. We discussed whether it was Italian mafia, whether it was this or that. And, we both agreed that it wasn't the Italian mafia. But so we kind of know it wasn't the Polacks. We know it's not the Puerto Ricans. So it's, I could go through the people that don't have access to international banking. Remember, you need to have some international banking experience moving money around the globe, trying to hide it,
So you're saying it's the CIA?
Whatever. But anyway, you think about like in Finger Motion, Jeff Easton just killed KNW down to 7 cents. And where does that money going? It's going to his friend Hancock in Australia, right? His partner.
Yeah.
So they had to learn how to move money around. They probably sold shares in this thing, ran it through Europe, and then eventually the money will get over to that guy in Australia, his John Hancock. So these guys have ways to move money around. They're not stupid. And again, that's the only reason these guys exist, is because they can move money around through the system.
That's something Norm Macdonald said.
Did he?
All right. Ham is calling you. Oh, Moo Moo in Hong Kong. Moo Moo is a brokerage firm. The stock is not shortable at Moo Moo, or maybe it's not shortable in Hong Kong. I don't know what he means.
And what stock is that?
Finger Motion. Finger.
Oh, yeah. Listen, we met the people from Asia. I met many big investors. There's a surgeon. There's a couple of doctors. William, you met one of them. I met the other one that owned millions of shares. They buy Finger Motion and just put it away. They don't even think. They don't think there's a care in the world. They know what China is capable of doing. They know that the money's coming. I told you what they told me a long time ago. This stock is going to 100 on fundamentals. Forget the short. With the short built in, now they really understand what can happen here. They keep telling me when I meet the people from Asia, they say the same thing. Let them keep shorting, we'll just keep buying. And that's what they say. So these guys keep doing it. I told you they're trapping themselves in Finger Motion. They already trapped themselves. You saw the stock trade to 142. 142, let's push it down to 123. Why? Why wouldn't you want to sell it at 142, 150, 160? They can't have it go up. I keep trying to show you. It's very obvious. The company's got nothing but good news, is fully financed. They're issuing a special dividend. We know the raw capital report's coming out. We know Trump can speak at any second. Trump is not going to come out and say, hey, everybody, go naked short everything and help yourself. We're not going to prosecute you. He's not saying that. So where are these guys going? You don't think Trump knows these type of thugs are running around here? He knows. Look at Andrew Left, busted. Hindenburg, busted. Anson Fund. We hear the Anson Fund is the one that's giving up everybody. It's right there in black and white. Read it yourself. We all thought Andrew left when he got caught, right? Oh, they'll never get Hindenburg. Whoop, Hindenburg's next. If that doesn't tell you that they're all ratting each other out, I can't help you anymore on that. Just remember, if you're the short seller and you're facing 20 years in jail, like that guy Menendez from the congressman who got busted doing something illegal, he was crying when they sent him to jail for 11 years. Crying, he was looking for mercy.
He's not gonna live that long. And the judge said, "That's all right, son. Do the best you can."
That's exactly what they did. There's no more mercy for financial criminals. That game is over with. These guys are in Finger Motion. They're just moving the stock back and forth, trying to buy settlement time, and hopefully people bail out. You could just see that no one's bailing out.
What do you think Trump's tariffs are going to do?
That has nothing to do with anything that we're following. I could give a rat's ass. We have nothing I'm doing is going to be affected by Trump. Finger Motion is based in China, doing business with Chinese companies. It does nothing to come back to the U.S. to face the tariffs. If it did have a problem, then you would short Nike and McDonald's and Starbucks and Tesla. anything like that. But those companies are so massive and they do so much business in China, okay, that they would never go after. They would never really harm China unless it's something with a trade. But, you know, retail and all these companies doing business, they won't hurt them.
I came to the end without more questions. Oh, here, maybe. No, somebody, Steve bought 5 calls on Finger.
Listen, I'm a true believer in buying
March
cheap
4th.
options. The March 4, listen, if it's going to go to 3, it's going higher. So, you know, options at $5 a piece. You can't get any cheaper than that. They're not going to give them to you for free. $5 is as low as you're going to get it. I don't think anybody makes sales and sells them at $1 or $2. That's like a penny or 2 pennies. You know, I doubt that. But once it gets going, it won't stop. And if you sit there and said, imagine if you bought DJ calls the other day when the stock was 30, the next day it popped to 35. Those options were all garbage, 30 cents, 40 cents. Friends of mine were selling the 31s at $3. They didn't even get the top. I had one guy who shorted the stock at 35 and caught the spread. He bought the options at 50 cents. 31.50 is what his price was. 31s plus the 50-cent cost, it made it 31.50. He sold it at 35, so he made $3.50 on the transaction. That's a more sophisticated way of doing it. If you ever notice when stocks open up after a big gap, they always drift down because when the options open up, all the peasants like us, we want to sell it. If I bought an option $1 and it's 6 bid, screw you, I'm selling it. I'm up 50 grand, let's say. So what they do is they open it up and they start knocking the stock down a little bit because they want you to dump your options. But you can't get out until they open them up. And that's what it always happens. It opened to 35, William, they pushed it down to 33 before you blink an eye. And the poor people who bought the options couldn't get out. Instead of making $3 or $4, they were barely making $3 or $2.
I'm not flying into National Airport anymore.
I spoke with our pilot friend this morning to get his take on it. And he's been reading a lot about it, and he talked about the altitude and I asked him how fast could a plane move to change the altitude, and he said, if they had, if anyone caught them moving closer to them, they could have just taken, in seconds they would have been away from them, 20, 30 feet.
I just read it to people. There's a pilot, I forget her name. She said the problem is they didn't have an extra crew, anyway, they needed another pair of eyeballs. They had a crew chief, I guess. They needed 2. So someone's looking to the left, someone's looking to the right while the pilot looks ahead.
Oh, no, this is what he said. He said that when you're a pilot and you're coming in for landing, and I guess with the helicopter also, all you see is these lights. It's very difficult to tell if they're close or far.
Right.
The only thing that you know is your radar and your screen telling you. And if the people lifted their head off their screen, he said on the last 20 seconds to 30 seconds of flying going into land, both pilots are focused on the runway and are not looking at a screen where the helicopter came at them quick.
Oh, so you barely have a second to figure out.
Yeah, he said that if they were looking at the runway and not monitoring all their gauges at that time, in 1 second they're on top of you.
And there's another plane there, so when the guy said, "Do you see it?" they said yes. So they didn't think there was another plane. Oh God, it's just scary.
So I went over a bunch of things with them, but listen, people, there's a lot of great shareholders here, pilots, doctors. I used to speak with a major oncology surgeon at LA, and he was part of the group working on Northwest Bio back years ago. And he's always believed that their technology was on the right path, but the stock got slaughtered. They lost money there. They rob from surgeon. Guy's an oncology surgeon, saves people's lives every day, and no one cares. Think about that. How brutal is that? They don't care whose money they steal. Teachers, I always get a kick out of it. First responders, Wall Street thanks them. Yeah, they steal your money. They don't care. No one cares.
Do short sellers use the sale of options, calls, etc., to offset margin in the short term? Or maybe sell puts, I don't know. But do they sell options?
The whole thing with the option game is there has to be some volume on the other side of these trades. They just can't keep trading with themselves, right? You know, they can use a wash trade in options like to create. A lot of times they used to have an option. They used to call it bullets, and if you Google it, the SEC shut it down because when we had the uptick rule, you couldn't short unless the stock had an uptick, meaning the stock had to trade higher first. So you didn't get these vicious attacks that we see now. Because when they come in, they start knocking you down. They just keep selling until they get to Rome. Keep hitting it, right? So they used to do these bullets where they would buy calls, buy puts, all right? Then would exercise the calls, meaning saying, okay, we bought 100 calls. We want to exercise it, and we want to make sure we have stock, real stock. It's expensive. And all of a sudden, because of the uptick rule, you couldn't sell it short because of the uptick rule. But if you were to convert options into free trading shares because you converted it, remember,
you move the risk to the option exchange.
Well, you basically 100 calls, it can equal 10,000 shares. Right. So they could buy the calls and they convert it into stock. Then they turn around. You don't need an uptick to sell the stock because you are long the stock now. You created it, right?
Ah.
And they would turn around and sell. They wouldn't do 10,000 shares. They would do 1 million shares. And they were killing $100 stocks down $15.
How do they sell 1 million if there's no uptick?
They don't need an uptick because they created long stock.
But they only created 10,000 shares long. Not
they did it. They used to do 500,000 shares, 1 million shares. They would do enough options.
So
and you would sit there and say, how do they make money?
Because they own the puts.
If you did 1,000 calls and 1,000 puts, when the stocks crashed, they would lose money on the stock side, right? So let's say they did 1 million shares and they do this crazy conversion, and they sell it. They would lose $3 on a million shares of stock. They lose $3 million, right? They would, on that sale of the 1 million shares, they would destroy the stock. Stock could go down $15. So the puts are now worth $15. They would explode. So at the end of the day, they lost 3 and they probably make 8.
Wow.
So they make 8 million, lose 3 million, they're plus 5 million. My friend did this. There was a brokerage firm in Connecticut called OTA. And they were the biggest player in that space.
But they'd be short down 15.
No, if you sell the stock down and kill it.
Right, I understand, but I see. They're not naked. They sell whatever they created. So it's the option exchange. There better be shares. My point is, wouldn't there be buying of the stock as well?
Listen, when the stocks start breaking, and the stock goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everyone's sitting there. What the hell's going on? People are getting margin calls. Get rid of it. Sell it. What's going on? Must be bad news somewhere. And all of a sudden, these things are down $15. So what they do is they sell the stock that they created as low as they can go. Keep selling it. Because what happens is the puts gone from $1. Now they're worth $15, right? And that was called a married put. That was they used to call it bullets.
Mitchell's
You want to
calling
go, and the SEC went after it after a few years of everyone getting these companies getting slaughtered. They didn't do it to small caps. Those were big stocks. They did it to. You know, stocks that you wouldn't be paid to pay attention to.
So how the SEC prevent that?
They shut it down. You can't do it anymore. And the brokerage firm and my friends that all worked there who made millions and millions of dollars in commission, they're all out of business. They don't do it anymore. Stevie Cohen was a big player in that space back in the day. These are the type of things these guys create.
Wow.
So there's so many ways around this, but it all comes down to settlement. At the end of the day, we're T+1. Whatever you sell today, if it doesn't settle tomorrow, buy them back in. So let's say GBUX, the guy sells 10,000 shares today at $1.70. He doesn't deliver it Monday. They buy him in at $2.50. And every day, this guy's going to lose 70 cents or 7,000 a day selling 10,000 shares of stock. Trust me, he's not going to do it anymore. And that ends the whole game.
How high initially will Finger go when the Roth report is
Finger
released?
motion. I think Roth is going to come out with a report, and this is my opinion. I said they're going to give a target between $8 and $12. I think the government contract, all right, from what I heard, Roth was blown away knowing how big that thing is. So I think that's where the hidden value is going to come in with the most, the most margin money that the company's going to make. The company works a lot with small margins, but this is all of a sudden going to go from, making $1 a transaction to doing, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 each transaction now. So I think that's going to give the company a nice target. And I told you before, they'll say 8 to 10, 12-month target, 8 to 10. As it gets to 7, they'll say, hey, we're raising our target to 20. When it gets to 17, they'll say we're raising our target to 35. That's how Wall Street raises its targets. For those who are going to say this stupid thing, why don't they just come out and say 30? They can't do it that way. They have to do it this way. I could say it. That's my opinion, that the stock's going to 100 or 2,000. That's my opinion. I don't work at a brokerage firm. That's my opinion. Naked shorting and the business that this company is doing gives me the right to say that this company, in my opinion, is going to 2,000. And if you don't believe it, go look at VW short squeeze. Go look at the timeline. There's plenty of people have it up there. Google it. VW short squeeze timeline. Go Google it and go see what it's about. Look how fast it went from there to 20. It went from $125 to $2,500, like a rocket. And if you listen to any Warren Buffett with was it Milton Friedman? I think he was with. Shorting stocks is a dangerous game. People don't. The only reason the shorting stocks is in favor is because it's all fraud. It's not dangerous when you don't have to deliver it and you never get bought in.
And you don't go to jail.
And you don't go to jail for your crimes.
And you can donate to the Children's Hospital. TLO hits a new low. TLO's up 10%.
Again, it's a disgrace what they've done there. I told you we met the guy a long time ago, bought the whole float. And they created another float. You know what, William? I just stopped paying attention. The other day we talked about ROOT. Yeah. It was around $82. I told you the shorts were trying to cover in this name. And I see it today. It hit a high of 98.70 before pulling back off. If you look on a chart, it looked like it exploded from like $78 or something like that up to 100.
Wow.
I think yesterday was 100. Can anyone tell us what it was yesterday, Root?
I can,
The last 2 days?
well, you know where it was.
In the last couple of days, 2 days ago, it was over 100. And I was talking about it at 83. Remember, I kept saying I can't advise you to buy this one because it's very volatile. But it went back over 100 again.
Wow. Yeah, it was over 100. I don't know. This chart doesn't help much, but it was, yeah, the last 5 days. I guess on 130, it went over 100.
Right. And it was $83 the other day. We talked about it online. I says, I can't recommend this one because it's so volatile. I don't know if it's going to drop 30 or go up 30. Well, it went up $20. But you got to follow stocks like this you find. And then, listen, people, you don't have to buy them. Paper trade it. Get a piece of paper out. Say 130 on this day, I bought, always say 100 shares. Don't tell me you bought 1,000. I don't want to hear this. You bought 100 shares at $73, and see how you do. Goes to 80, you sell it. Pulls back to 76, you can buy it back, sell it at 84, buy it back, and learn how to buy the dip and sell the rip on 100 shares. You guys need experience. Before you start jumping into everything, these high-flying names, these big names are dangerous. But once you learn to feel for it, you can see when they're going to go. You can feel it. For example, I don't know, but this GBUX, it looks like it wants to explode. I had no idea it was at 234 this morning. I wasn't around. And somebody I know who bought it, sold some, and is buying it back at 170 or something like that. I mean, so people are starting to understand how to take advantage of the wild swings. Finger motion has not had this wild swing yet. It's coming, but we haven't had it yet. It's the end of the month, William, so these guys are just trying to hold it down to make sure they get their commissions or pay whatever they're going to steal.
What do you think of ZJYL and GDC?
When I hear something, you'll know about it.
Sure, that's true.
When I hear it, I will stop what I'm doing, get on the call with William, or I will post it. Trust me, I watch it every day. When I see it's going to go, I'll let you know. GDC, we had our trade in there already. The easy money was made. It went from 3 to 60, 60 to 12. I got everybody out around $7, $8 tops. Not many were higher than that. Actually, someone I know sold it at 10 or something like that, or 11.
I don't know what strike price this gentleman's talking about, but the option, the offer price on finger calls on level 2 are moving back and forth from 10 cents to 30 cents. I don't know what strike price, but that seems like
Listen,
pretty
the option
volatile.
prices never pay a spread like that, 10 to 30 cents. Put a bid in at 15 cents. Always try that first. And I hope there's a lot of people listening. All right. I was a very big option player. So if I had to buy 500 calls in something like a finger motion that's illiquid, say, I would go in there. Let's say they offered at 10 cents. I would buy 100 of them at 10 cents. The offer then would go 10 cents to 20 cents. I would turn around and offer the 100 that I just paid 10 cents for. I would offer it at 20 cents. The market makers would see and say, oh, this idiot's just buying it, flipping it like we're trying to do. A lot of times they would go back down and offer it at 15 cents. I would scoop them up at 15 cents and then just pile them up at 20 cents. And they would keep selling them to me at 15 cents because they know now there's 200 at 20 cents. I buy another 100, make it 300 at 20 cents. They come back down, they offer 200, I scoop them up. Now I got 500 of them. And the market is 10 to 20. And what do I do then? I cancel my offering at 20 cents. And the guys who shorted these things to me at 15 cents and 10 cents, now shit their pants because they thought I was flipping them. When the stock starts to move, then the options would expand from 10, 15 cents. They would go 20 to 50 cents. At 50 cents, I would sell 200 of them. And that's what catches them. And a lot of times I would put them back out there. They would scoop them out at 50 cents to protect themselves, right?
Was this your own money?
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to con them or trick them into selling me stock or options. I told you I traded to make 15,000 a day. That's what I did.
That's an amazing story. Would it still work? No.
100%.
Really?
Yep. Because now you're going against an algorithm and the options. There's not even a human being there anymore. Once you buy it from them, let's say you want to buy 10, 20 calls. You buy 10 and all of a sudden the market, let's say you pay 20 cents and the market's offered at 30. Take the 10 options, offer it at 30 cents. What's the worst that can happen? You make 10 cents, you make $100, you make a dime on 10 calls. But the key is to try to pay the least amount as possible. So you sort of con them into doing it. Whatever I buy, I put it back on the offer and keep piling it up
there. And then they feel exposed because you're not there at 20 cents or whatever.
Once you cancel the offering, then they're exposed. They know what happened then.
And they want to cover.
And all of a sudden you get a quick spike up and you can make a sale, make 30, 40 cents on 200 calls. It's $8,000 in a second.
And then your mother says, I don't understand how you make
And my mother says what I want to do. I said, well, I pulled down this guy's pants and I, did him dry.
So this gentleman says he bought, where is it? Here it is. I don't know. Anyway, he called it Gangster Bucks. So Gangster Bucks is at 181.
Well, I hope you kill him. Listen, if you bought it, put a GTC order out for half of your stock at 305. Pick a number, whatever number you want. If it spikes on a short squeeze, you make a sale for half of it. And this way, whatever you paid, now let's say you make $1 on it. You paid $1.71. I don't know what you pay. I don't know what it is. $1.80. And you make $1, you own it at 80 cents. I told you I paid $230. I bought 400 at 231 last week. I made the high last week at 233. Excuse me. And today it traded 234. So it keeps making a new high, and the lows keep going higher. So it's building a pattern of climbing the steps. Listen, this is a fundamental story that all of a sudden we got an idiot short seller in here that's going to be, this is like, whoever the short seller on this thing is a novice. There's not even a question. And he's going to be shitting his pants because he's going to be sitting here and he's not going to know what to do.
What price do you think it's good to sell GBUX?
I just told you, when it runs up, put an order out there, sell half of it, and hold on to some. And let's see how the company news pans out. Let's get all the full details of this monster deals that they're working on.
Robert Kepke bought GBUX at 70 cents because of you, bought more at 113, bought more at 143, and now bought some at 172.
He's a good man, and let me tell you something. Robert is a big motherfucker, and I don't want him chasing me down.
He's a bad mamba jamba, or is that a female? I don't know.
That man is as big as a tree, and he looks as strong as he's big as a refrigerator. He's going to run you. He should have been a defensive tackle, that guy. He's a big man. Great guy. I met him in New York. Great guy. Smart. Listen, people, he's one smart motherfucker also. He understands everything about Wall Street. He's a great guy. It's too bad I didn't bump him too early in my life, because he's a guy I really would have loved to sat down with and, do things with. He's a great guy.
You could have gone to Studio 54 together.
He could have carried me under his arm. He's a big man, and he has those shit ass cowboy boots on. You know, if he
To make
kicks
him
you,
taller, he needs to be taller.
if he's gonna kick me, he's gonna punt me across the neighborhood. He's a big guy, man. Oof, big guy. And he has a son that I wish him the best. He had some medical issues, and I hope he's doing well. Just a great man, a good family man, and you know, great guy to meet. Listen, I met a lot of shareholders. Like I met the gentleman in the parking lot yesterday. The last 2 days, I had to change up my my walks because I don't want to bump into him every day. But there's so many great people here. I spoke to the gentleman yesterday. I won't give you his name, but he put me in touch with his friend Paulie, who I spoke with. Nice guy. Just great guys that people want to understand the stock market. Listen, people have real jobs. Not everybody's a stock trader. One of the things I wanted to tell you is I've been harping on people on Twitter, all these day trading firms advertising. These day trading firms have no access to borrowing shares for people to short at those firms.
So what does that mean?
What they did is they created a scam, and I have a friend that knows that business very well, and he gave me the names of all these shit firms that are always telling you you can come here, you can short, you can do whatever you like. Fidelity, Goldman Sachs is not lending shares of stock to short to these day trading firms. So it's a scam. All they do is naked short. They don't have access to do anything.
Oh, I see. So it's adding more selling.
Well, the day trading firms, you can go put 20,000 up and they'll give you, you know, $500,000 worth of leverage. Once you lose your 20,000, you're out. They shut you down. But you go there and you say, I like to sell short. And they say, yeah, just click on it and you click you want to sell short and we'll make sure we borrow the shares. They have no one, Fidelity, no one will lend these guys shares to short. Zero. Their relationships, and here's the scam. If anybody wants to have fun with these firms like Tasty Trade and all these other ones that are advertising, the scam is they'll tell you they have a borrow with another day trading firm. So they all work together. Like Tasty Trade may borrow shares from, you know, One Trade. One Trade says they get the shares from this guy. It's a big daisy chain of make-believe. How's that one? So I've been abusing those guys and say, hey, where do you get your borrows from? They never answer me. Because my friend tells me that no one lends them stocks. They're not anybody's network that they would lend shares out to anybody. No one's going to, Fidelity's not going to go to Tasty Trade and say, hey, we'll let you have access to our whole inventory of shares that we own, because those are the people that have to lend it out. E-Trade's not lending these guys shares to short. E-Trade will do it to hedge funds, but they're not going to do it with Tasty Trade, whoever these guys are. So if you ever want to bust their balls, just ask them, say, hey, if I short a stock, where do you borrow shares from? Who's backing you up? They don't have anybody.
Will that ever cause a buy-in when they get?
Oh yeah, that what that tells you is that all these places that are letting people naked short using the market maker exemption, they're all gone. Timothy Sykes, those type of guys, they all use these firms. That's what they do. And when these guys,
Well, are they hair triggered to buy the stock back in when it goes against them?
Oh yeah, no, listen. But these guys all work as a pack of wolves, right?
All right.
So when they were using Capybara and Finger Motion or Whitestone or whatever those guys are, or Hindenburg or Left, when they put out the story, these guys, there's like, 500 of them in different offices. And they say, hey, there's a bear raid going on this one. Everybody starts hitting the button, sell, sell, sell. They don't borrow. They just hit sell buttons.
Right.
So a stock that goes down, like Finger Motion, when they announced the second day, the stock bounced off 150 back up to 160, right?
Right.
If anybody remembers. And then all of a sudden, the wave of orders came in, pushing it down to almost $1. Selling. Wait, those were the bear raid guys. Those were the day trading firms, just selling it at the market, trying to drive it down. You can see when they come. But I think that whole game is over with for those characters.
Do you think Finger will squeeze at $5?
So I think it'll squeeze at $5.
I don't know. The question is, shouldn't Finger be squeezing at $5?
I think finger motion will squeeze once the report comes out, once the dividend is announced, once Trump speaks, or once the fundamental numbers start coming out when they go to profitability. All those things will make it go. It doesn't make a difference if it's obviously 140 is the problem because they pushed it down from 140. Every day this week they've been trying to push it lower, correct?
Right.
Every day. I called William up. He said, "What's he doing?" It's down a penny, down a half a penny, down a penny, down a penny. And just think about the time as grown-up people that have to sit here and watch this nonsense. This is like moronic security fraud 101. These guys putting up trades. No one knows there's wash trades. I posted the other day. I told you they were going to wash it before they even did it. It's so stupid. It's remarkable. All Trump has to say is, if you sell a share and naked short it, and you cannot deliver it, you go into jail. Boom, it's over with. They all get roped in. The prime brokers. Listen, the trade in these names is to the upside. All these names, whether it's GameStop, this one, that one. Again, I'm not a believer in GameStop because I think that Ryan Cohen, he sold out and he sold all those shares. He didn't sell some, he sold a lot. So now he's got to try to build a business. And every day we hear something about Ryan Cohen working, trying to move his shares, or whatever the hell he's doing. I have no reason to understand why. Hey, Ryan, open up a brokerage firm, cut the shit out, forget about the short squeeze business. You already grinded it for $5 billion. Move along. He'll get more respect if he built a business. He's got the money, go build a business. Instead, he keeps dabbling in the short business. Why? Because he knows that people in that stock are fanatics. They'll buy it and they won't sell it, like AMC. These stocks, to me, are basically dead. You got to find stocks that haven't had the squeeze yet. DJT hasn't had the massive squeeze yet. It went to 57, but the next one is going to be a monster one. There's over 1 billion shares to go. Kodak has 1 billion shares to go. Pete from Philly did a nice chart on that this morning about Kodak, marking it down. Kodak is another one. It squeezed one day to 61, and it's never squeezed again. It went to 12. I think it went to 12, and then it stopped squeezing. Then it didn't happen. So find one that hasn't happened yet. You don't have to listen to us. Go find whatever one you like. The trade is to the upside, not the short side anymore.
So there's no significance to $5.
No, not at all. I think $1.04. I think once the momentum starts, it's just going to boom. It's just going to explode.
Robert wants you to know that his son is doing great. He's learning the market. He listens to you and Ace and
good for him.
and his papa.
Tell him to stay away from that monster in the other room. Listen, life is weird. Everyone has issues, family issues, and to sit here and, I give you guys my time. My older brother had a heart issue and it was taken care of, family. Everyone has these issues. It's not just me, everyone does. We have financial issues. And to sit here and watch Lynn Partners, Jeff Easton, Phil Lavaliere, and those other two women walk around in life and think who the fuck they are. These people deserve to be in jail forever. What they did to KNW is such a murder. They murdered that company. Murdered them. It's 7 cents. The company got $4 million. And they lost their whole company for $4 million. All the research these guys have done, they have nothing. They got $4 million of money.
3.6.
What's that?
3.6 after they took their fees out.
Right, they didn't even get $4 million. And they lost their whole business over taking $3.6 million from Lynn. How's that? And you tell me that's fair? I don't even know one person there. Every shareholder I feel bad for, they're getting a tax loss. and their money's going to John Hancock in Australia. And where's the government? What do I have to do? I don't know those people. I keep telling those people, stand up. Call Mark Bazile. If anyone knows any shareholders, call Mark Bazile up. He can go after Lynn Partners. Tell them to use the money that they got. Go after Lynn Partners. Keep their money, and you don't give them back any stock and get rid of them. But, I can't. I don't reach out to the company. I don't really care. GMGI is the next victim. It's pretty easy. Lynn's lining them up. They give you $4 million or $3.6 million, and they steal 40 or 30, whatever the number may be. On to the next one. What do we get? 10 million here? We got here. Finger Motion has a chance to wipe these guys off the planet, and that's why they keep desperately trying to hold it down. That's why they desperately try to hold it down. That's why they got bashes always attacking people. I'm not afraid of them. I could kill us. They go into jail. And if they want to kill me, they got murder charges on top of it. It's okay. You guys don't mind. I take a bullet for you, right, William?
His son hits the weights every day.
Wow. That's pretty strong.
I have a feeling.
His father's eating a big sandwich while he's watching the kid work out
I have
every
a
day.
feeling he can kick your ass.
I tell you what, if his son is as big as his dad, yes, he can kick my ass. But the problem is, he'll never catch me. I'm fast as a little fucker. I'm gonna run.
You used to be.
Listen, I grew up in Brooklyn. I knew how to run around a parked car faster than anybody. You're not catching me. And I still can't believe a gentleman caught me in the lot talking to William on a phone, and he knew my voice. I still can't believe it. I'm blown away by that. And the funniest thing, and for anyone who just joined in, the gentleman who found me in the parking lot put his friend Paulie on the phone, and he goes, "I'm here with Ham," and the guy Paulie goes, "Get out of here! I'm listening to him on with William right now." He was listening to it delayed, William, I guess. He just tuned in. And he didn't get to the part yet where I hung up on you and told him I met somebody. He couldn't believe it when I finally did. It was pretty funny.
He didn't get to the part where you're breaking my heart. Wow, Robert's 100 pounds. I don't know, in weights or heavier. I guess he's heavier than his son by 100. Oh, muscle, I'm sure.
Let me tell you something. The guy, he's just, listen, good-looking guy, big guy. He's as big as Herman Munster. He's a big motherfucker. When he stood next to me, it did that. They'll tell you, it went dark. He blocked all the lights. It was like a complete solar eclipse. I didn't see anything. He's a big guy. Big guy.
We're talking big.
Big.
I know it's small, Arthur. Yeah, that's where it is. Mitchell just bought 500 gangster bucks. So he bought 500 shares.
Let me just recap Finger Motion for a second while we got you here. The CEO said mid-December for the audit.
Right.
We're at the end of January. How much longer do you think it's going to be? Another week?
Longer
2 weeks? It's coming, right? It's going to happen. The CEO said as soon as the audit's complete, they will announce the final details on the warrant. That is musical chairs. You stop the music. When you stop the music, everyone needs a certificate to match your holdings. Do you actually think they're going to match up? Absolutely not. If you're short, you're going to be short 10% more. 241 million becomes 24 million short at zero. They don't get any money for it. Right now, when they sell stock, the money goes to their side of the ledger. They get the money. When the dividend comes, they don't get a penny. They're going to get 24 million shares short of the warrant. Their prime broker is going to say, hey, you need to put margin up. If the warrant opens up at $1, they're going to have to put up at least $3 in margin money. So 24 million times 3 is $72 million just to have the right to be short. They're going to have to put up that margin money. That's a guarantee. No one gets away for that for free. If they do not meet the margin, they will be bought in. The warrant going makes the stock go. That's all you need to know. They will be short 24 million at zero. If it trades at 50 cents, 50 cents times 24 million to be down $10 million or $12 million in a loss on top of the margin money. And I told you before, the warrant, all these warrants usually have a 2-year expiration. So this warrant is going to be for free. If you own 1,000, you're going to get 100 warrants. You have the right to hold on to that for 2 years. You can trade it anytime you like. 2 years. What's the race to sell you 100 warrants at $1? If you sold 100 at $1, you're going to make $100. You're going to pay 40% tax. Is it worth it? If the stock goes to 100 minus, let's say 3 is 97 times 100 shares. You make $9,700 for free. So you see the why people would want to buy that warrant. I know my friends want to buy them. So we're dying to know where price is to strike and how it's going to be the market in these things. They can't come out there and start shorting it at pennies because there's a 2-year warrant expiration, a 2-year expiration. On top of that, the stock is going to have a problem because everyone needs to settle up. Do you realize how we're throwing a wrench into their engine, into their, whatever you want to call it, a monkey wrench. We're this will throw them all off. And as you can see, no one's doing it. Pat Byrne did it. I lost all my money at $30. It went to 3. I gave up. It went from 3 to 128. And I told you I got wiped out. I had the 30 calls. That was when the SEC blocked them from doing the dividend. Then they approved it. It went from, I think JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley stopped the SEC from issuing the dividend at $30. Because everybody was pumping it at that time. It was ready to explode. And it was ready to explode. And they needed to stop the momentum. So the SEC did. The stock crashed from 30 to 3. I got my ass kicked with all the options. Everyone lost. And when, like Candid Camera, we least expected, it got approval, boom, 128. So that was from a dividend. It wasn't from anything, or Pat Byrne selling towels or whatever the hell he sold on Overstock. All right? That was strictly from a dividend. Finger Motion is doing the dividend. It's right there. The CEO's told us twice now, William, on your interviews. If the CEO does not issue the dividend once the warrant is out there, we should all get Mark Brazil and sue the company because they made a false statement. Do I think he's not going to do it? Absolutely, it's coming. So where are these shorts? Where are they going? The stock on its own right now, Finger Motion with the deals in its place. I'm not going to give you some crazy number. Let's say it should be $5. All right, that's what Benchmark wrote with their analyst a while ago. It's worth $5. But since they did their report, Benchmark, Finger Motion has landed more deals, has money in the bank, everything going the right direction, and the stock is lower. It's only here because of fraud. It's the only reason it's here. And the issue with this type of fraud is that the upside is infinite. And that's what we're trying to make money from, the squeeze on the upside. Not roaring kitty, sticking his finger up his ass, telling you nonsense and drawing a picture of a cat. If anyone brings up that moron to me again, I was walking yesterday in the street, William, and I blasted roaring kitty. I think it was to you. The guy was dying laughing. I walked past him. I called him a jerk off. He is a jerk off. I don't understand what he's doing, who he's scamming, what's going on there. If he made $100 million, listen, give me my $50 million, you'll never see me again. This guy made hundreds of millions. He's still playing games, posting cats, what the hell he's doing. He should be on a slow boat to China, that guy, and disappear. Instead, he's standing here doing what? I don't even know what he's doing. Anything else, William?
Somebody just bought 287 March calls on DJT at 45 cents.
The March, yeah, that's what strike is it?
It doesn't say March calls. It doesn't say.
Because they got the
whatever's
March
trading
calls,
at 45 cents.
Yeah, that's got to be somewhere above 40. I don't think they would be. I think that it's got to be closer to $40. It's not. The stock's 32, $8 away. You know, that's probably a 39 or 40 or 41 call. Anything else, William?
No.
Oh, everybody, I
The
heard
45s. The 45s.
Yeah, okay, I knew it was over 40. The other day, I had a call that there was a big buyer in ZKIN. I don't know anything about it. It popped up on 40 million shares. They killed it back down, and the stock is now 282. Now, I only see it because I have a quote from it. And I told Christian Shaughnessy to go look at it. She didn't get back to me. I told her to look at it. I think they did a reverse. So I don't know exactly what was the high or the low. The high was 305. It's 282. So this is a company, everyone write it down, ZKIN. I don't know what the opening price was. Let's say it's $3. It said 305. Let's see what happens in 2 months where this stock is. Because remember, they just wiped out all the longs. I don't know what the reverse was for. I have no idea. But if everybody can see the pattern, kill them down, let them reverse, and repeat. It's ZKIN. It just came across me by accident, and and here they are. They did it to that company. That NVIDIA is a tough trade. It looks like NVIDIA, every spike up is a sale. They used to be buying puts on it. I know Steve Rosenberg made money on the upside today, but I think people with big money are getting nervous about this stock, there's some hair on this name about their accounting. So, I got it. Everybody wants to play. It's a great company, but you know what? If you want to gamble, go play it. I would suggest you go play somewhere else and stay away from danger, because if there is some, hanky panky there, do you want to get caught up in it? No, you don't want to get caught up in either way. So I would stay away from it. Is that it, William?
There aren't any more questions. Unless you know something about Citigroup.
Nope. I guess I'll go play some pickleball and then go get my pizza tonight for dinner and watch television. Hey, if anybody wants to see something that's pretty funny, go watch The Bookie. It's on HBO, I believe, with Sebastian Maniscalco. You got 2 seasons of it. Rob it out in Arizona. You should watch that with your son. You'll get a good laugh out of it. Anybody who's ever placed a bet with a bookmaker would understand it. Since my uncle was a bookmaker for the Brooklyn team, everyone understands that. I told you my uncle was the bookmaker in the Rex Tavern, and Maria Bartolomo's family owned it back then. I didn't know her. I didn't see her. But I used to bring the numbers to my uncle, who used to sit at the bar and take all the bets. Uncle Tony passed away, so if anybody wants to, he's passed away. So he was a bookmaker, and a pretty big one. So, and believe it or not, William, I used to take bets from the police officers and give it to my uncle. Everybody gambled.
Seems like you still take bets.
No, I'm very conservative about my bets. I used to play dice. I was actually very good at it. I stopped playing that because I have no interest in it anymore. Before, I always felt I could go there and I could really tattoo a casino, make 5, 10 grand, 20,000 playing dice. I always felt comfortable that I could do it and not lose. Now I go and I have no interest in it. I don't even want to waste my time. But I used to go all the time to play, and I just have no interest in it. As you can see, I'm consumed with naked shorts. I have to finish it. I'll work as hard as I can. I'm waiting for the gentleman, the reporter, to call me up, and we'll give him a couple of companies and see if he can help break this open. Everyone's trying their best, and that's all we can do. But I do think Trump is going to speak, and I'll say it again. My friends and myself, we do not trust anybody. We do it ourselves. So if Trump doesn't want to take care of this, we're going to do it ourselves. I can't save all the companies. We're definitely saving Finger, though. I've spoken to many CEOs, William, and for people that don't know it, the CEOs of public companies are morons. They're great at what they do, whether it's technology, medical, this, that, the other thing. They have no idea what they're talking about on Wall Street. Zero. I just remember CELU. I met the guy. He's a neurosurgeon in a trauma center. He works on infectious disease. I told him, don't take the money. He took the money. He reversed his stock and slaughtered everybody. And he was a spinoff from Biogen, a big major pharmaceutical company. A biotech. So these guys all make these mistakes. KNW, I don't know the gentleman. He did the same thing. GMGI, same thing. SYTA, same thing. MULN, same thing. They all did the same thing. They've all been destroyed. They're all 60 cents. They're going to have to reverse their stocks to stay alive. Finger Motion is taking the punches, still standing here, and now needs to move forward, do the special dividend, get the revenue going with the money they just taken in. They just took the money in, they announced the contract right behind it. We've been hearing they got a big contract in Indonesia. Let's see that come out. I don't know when it's coming, but let's see if that comes out. So this company's got Asia. They're in the biggest market in the world. And you know what? I feel comfortable on what's going on here. I'm not happy about the stock going down. I'm not happy they raised the money. But you know what? Thinking about it, they raised the money. And you know what? That worry is off the table. So if the short sellers come in and say they're going to raise money, well, that's not true. They did it already. Now what do you want to complain about? Not only did they raise money, they raised it at $1.50, not at 2 cents like K&W's doing.
Robert's father was a bouncer for the mob in Chicago at age 16.
Yeah, you know what? I can see it. He definitely has that look. I think he put his drink on my head, William.
He must have put some rubber on there first, otherwise it would have slid off.
With the old hair joke again. All right, I'm used to it by now. Don't bother me. All I know is when it's a windy day, rainy day, I don't have to worry about shit.
He thought it was the top of a glass table.
What's all the lumps on this guy's head? How many times have you been hit that?
Well, GBUX isn't going to close at 3, but it's at 184.
Listen, I can't. I'm just giving you my gut feeling. When stocks look like they want to explode for whatever reason it is, they have this look. There's no selling. It's not pushing it down. The other day they were attacking it down. It was absorbed by investors buying it, and it bounced back up. They did that twice, and the stock keeps marching forward. Okay? To me, this is the sign of a stock you want to buy. That's it. That's my opinion. It's just, this is a stock you want to buy. If the company does everything they're supposed to do, that's supposed to come out, the stock will rocket. I can't advise anyone to go buy 10,000 shares of it because I know very little. I'm hearing there's big things on the way. What are they? Let's wait for it to come out. There's nothing more I can say about it. Finger motion, I could talk about all day long. I know every gory detail. Every gory detail. Let's hope that GTI deal gets done, because those guys with that Bloomberg terminal stuff is going to be pretty impressive. But again, I don't control it. There's a court-appointed guy, the judge, and this and this. You know, let it happen. When it happens, we'll get an update on it. Hopefully, the audit will be complete, and it'll start trading again. In which case, we can all average down and get the hell out when it goes. But for those who don't know, these guys developed a new type of Bloomberg terminal that's got AI built into it, and you know, you can speak to it and say, "Hey, how many times this company did a reverse? How many shareholders? How many insiders selling? How many?" You know, you can ask it any question; it'll dig it up in seconds. And it's state of the art. The guys came from Google. One of the guys, a couple of people came out of Google, and they developed this platform. And I met the gentleman. I told them they need to reach out to the guy at the company. They did, and they submitted their business plan. And hopefully it goes. All right, everyone. There's nothing much more I can say. I've said everything 10 times over. I even addressed it, Rob and his son in Arizona. And if anyone, Bob, he used to be. He knew the gentleman Hurry. You met him or knew him from I forgot his name. Something Hurry. He's the guy from Alpine, the crook from Alpine. He knew back then the guy was robbing everybody. We had him on the call one time.
Who?
Bob. Yeah, Bob.
Oh, okay.
Big Bob. We had him on the call one time. He told everybody about it.
GBUX is now bidding 185, asking 186. It's on the move.
Well, listen, again, I'm on the phone with you guys. You know, it is what it is. It's coming out of Goldman Sachs. If anyone's got a connection to Goldman Sachs, I do not know the guy. He's telling some other people that I know. They tell me, and I'm sure they're telling their friends. That's it. And the word starts to spread. Obviously, when you get a call from somebody who says they got the guy from Goldman telling you to buy it, you know, sometimes you got to jump. That's how it goes.
Now it's 186 bid, 188 ask.
You know who bought this stock?
Your mama?
I can't tell you. I can't tell you. One of the gentlemen that is really fighting against naked shorts, a great guy. I won't give his name, but he bought 10,000. He told me.
You think the lawyer down in Texas bought it?
No. I'm talking about a guy who was I don't want to give everybody a heads up who it is, but he's a good friend of mine, and he told me the other day he bought 10,000, and I said, "Hey, good, hold on," and you know, he told me, so.
Stevie Cohen.
Listen, Stevie Cohen, you guys don't understand how powerful he is. You guys never seen it. I used to know somebody. I'll give you an old story that. And how things used to work on Wall Street.
188 bid, 189 ask.
So there was one time that there was a gentleman that I met in a bar, and he told me his brother used to be the guy that used to input stocks into the S&P. He used to delete them and add them. Now, do you think that was pretty good information?
To trade on, yeah.
So one time, I think he told me, the first time I think I got it, you always remember.
195, 191, two smackers.
He
could go
made
to
me
three.
think about my story. So I forgot what I was saying. So anyway, they told me that Federal Express was going to be added to the S&P. So I went to the biggest players on the street and I told them what I knew, what I thought I knew. And I actually bought maybe 2 or 3 million shares 2 days before it was supposed to happen. Federal Express, I think, was $32 at the time. This is many moons ago. Well, you're testing this out to see if this information's any good. Well, guess what? It got added to the S&P on Thursday, and it went up $7. So 3 million shares of $7 was a pretty good payday for all these players, right?
Right.
How do you think my commission days were doing then?
Better than they're doing now.
So,
198.25.
my job as a payback, I had to teach the bartender about options. We taught him so well that he got a job working for Morgan Stanley. How's that one? Until they threw him out because his cocaine use. He was a cokehead. They threw him out. But the guy, I forget the guy's name. Oh my God, I forgot the guy who ran Morgan's option desk. But we got him through all the channels, and he wound up being on their trading desk on options from a bartender.
Who has a better line of bullshit than a bartender?
Well, he told it to me. My ears opened up. I said, "Really?" I said, "Let's see what you got."
$2, 199 to 207.
Now, you said to me you didn't think it was going to go up, William, right? What did I say before?
I may have said that, but I was just challenging you.
I'm not even looking at it, and I knew it was going to trade
199, 207.
It just has that feeling. Some stocks have a feeling. You just got to feel it.
I'm hooked on a feeling.
All right. You can just see it. The short's in trouble. He's short, let's say, he's short down $1. Let's say 400,000 shares. He's down $400,000. The most he can make if he shorted $1 is 400,000. He's down 400,000, and he can't cover it. Listen, I hope everyone who bought it makes some money, and that's all I care about.
Now the bid is 178, so they want to scare you. Oh my gosh, I got to sell.
What's the volume on today, William?
55,227 shares. The average volume is 12,587 shares. The opening price was $233. Yesterday's close was $146.75.
Well, Steve Rosenberg just sent me a text. He said, "Great call. Your brain cells have come back to life." Steve Rosenberg would have come over and washed my feet to know the information that I used to have every day.
Steve Rosenberg says you can't handle the truth. He stood on that wall fighting for freedom, and you can't handle.
Steve Rosenberg knew the hot spots on Wall Street. He knew we were a hotbed. He knew.
His money flowed like wine. He knew all the hot spots.
I knew all the hot spots.
You can be my Dixie chicken.
I used to be somebody, not anymore.
I'll be your Tennessee lamb.
Well, listen, everyone. It's 3:46. I'm going to enjoy the last 15 minutes of the day. I'm going to go play pickleball. And if I hear anything over the weekend, William, I'll reach out to you. I'll have a call. Maybe we'll do something Sunday. I don't think there's any football on. So we'll do something before the Super Bowl, and we'll do something this Sunday and try to be ready for Monday. I'll try to reach out to everyone I can to get us an update on what's going on.
I look forward to your next syllable with great eagerness.
Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you. I'll speak to you later.
Right. See you later.
Thank you.
So 349. 349. 205 bid. I don't own it. I don't own GBUX. I don't own it, but Nvidia. Trump grants Patel stock. Is that in the news or is that in your head? Let me look that up. Is that Cash Me Outside Patel? It's not in the news. I don't see it. U.S. cattle herd shrinks to 1951 lows, and they've been killing them and slaughtering them. I think we're under attack. And I think there was a Manchurian candidate involved. I don't see that news, but I'm not doubting you. I don't see the news on Patel. I don't see it, but oh, Yahoo News. All right, that, you know what, I'm starting to like. I believe Yahoo Finance has good news now. It's a worthwhile place to look. Met her in old Mexico. She was laughing, sad and young, in a smoky room no one could see. Her favorite poets all agreed. Spanish is a loving tongue, but she never spoke Spanish to me. I still don't see this story. Trump to meet with Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang at White House. I don't see the news. I know it's there, but I just don't see it. I'm probably not looking in the right place. I just don't see it. They must have gotten, oh, maybe go on the stock. All right, that's a good idea. I can see why your father's a PhD. Trump meme coin plummets. I don't see that news. Oh, news. No, I don't see it. I don't see it. So I guess I'm dumber than. If DJT hits 45 next week, you retire. Well, I hope it hits 45 next week. GBUX hits $2. It was just 205. I'm going to go stay on 8 minutes, and then I'm going to scurry around and get ready for nothing. She was born in Monterey. and all the Christmas songs were sung, the Padre knew what she'd grow up to be. Saints and sinners all agree Spanish is the loving tongue, but she never spoke Spanish to me. She said, if you're from Texas, son, then where's your boots? And where's your gun? I smiled and said, I got guns no one can see. We laughed at that. We both agreed. Spanish is a loving tongue, but she never spoke Spanish to me. I left her in old Mexico. She was laughing, sad and young, in a smoky room, and no one could see. Dun dun dun, dun dun dun. Waiting for the train to France, I hung my head in shame, feeling for all purposes like a man without a name. Adios, that's all she said. I knew it had to be. But she finally spoke Spanish to me. Life just passed by on the sly. I tried to live mine over. It's been a cold, dark, lonesome night on the white cliffs of Dover. I can't get this song in my head. On the white cliffs of Dover. Adios, that's all she said. It echoed across the sea. But she finally spoke Spanish to me. Wine and dreams, she blew the candle out. I came to her for something. I went away without. Adios, that word will always haunt my memory. But she finally spoke Spanish to me. I left my boots in Italy. Soles wore out in Spain. I left my guns in London town, just smoking in the rain. Adios, that's all she said. I knew it had to be. But she finally spoke Spanish to me. Wine and dreams, she blew the candle out. I came to her for something. I went away without. Adios, that word will always haunt my memory. But she finally spoke Spanish to me. 202 bid, 203 ask. 62,202 shares volume. Why don't traditional trading platforms not allow bit trend? So why don't there's a double negative going on there, so I'm trying to figure it out. Why don't traditional trading platforms not allow? So I guess, why do traditional trading platforms allow Bitcoin trading? I don't think they do. I think you have to go on Coinbase and other things like that. But you know, I'm not sure I'm reading your question correctly. So it's one more minute. We'll go one more minute, then I'm going to sign off and go to her for something I'll leave without. Let's see if there's any more breaking news. I don't like these tariffs, guys. I don't have a good feeling about these tariffs. 25% on Canada, 25% on Mexico. I think he's really trying to. He's trying to say to China, hands off Canada, hands off Mexico. That's probably what it is. It's probably about China. I don't see any news. Let's see the Hill. The Hill's always a good place for crap. Gabbard in danger. Trump says helicopter and crash was flying too damn high. All right, so GBUX closed at 2025. Extended hours, it's 203. Bid 202. Ask 207. Let's see where the other cavalcade of criminals are, or cavalcade of charmers are. RLAIF closed at 32.36. 32.36 for RLAIF, up 9%. Not too shabby. Next trip was down. Finger was up. Closed, I guess, at 126. DJT 31.86. And I don't know what else we were looking at. Railtown 32 sounds pretty good. Barron's News. I don't get beyond the paywall on Barron's. I don't subscribe. All right, Barbara, thank you. You're the best. Thanks for your good words earlier to Mark. All right, 402. I'm going to sign off and get on with what remains of daylight. Thank you for stopping by. We'll see what happens over the weekend, but we'll certainly try to see you Monday at a minimum. So peace, love, happiness, and out.